This woman was alone in her room watching a romantic movie. When the climax of the movie arrived, her eyes did not move, while her husband hid in the study watching a romantic movie and kept swallowing. Unexpectedly, the door was kicked open by her daughter. The woman quickly switched to another channel, and the man quickly turned off the tablet. He let out a sigh of relief when his daughter left. The next day, Eunji told her colleagues what happened last night. Her colleagues mercilessly laughed at her. Eunji felt very strange, because she didn't have any thoughts about her husband, but her heart would beat faster when she saw other men. They had not had sex as a couple for several months. Her colleagues were a little incredulous. Eunji said that after more than 7 years of marriage, sex as a couple becomes a duty, and men over the age of 30 cannot sustain a long battle. Hygiene, however, did not agree with Eunji's statement. In the evening, Eunji was not feeling well and could not drive herself home. She had no choice but to ask her husband to come pick her up. However, her husband used the excuse that he could not find the car keys and told Eunji to take a taxi home. After hanging up, Eunji started to vent about him. That night, Junho was watching a romantic movie again, and even brought along headphones. Eunji suddenly pushed open the door and said she was back from work, and asked Junho if he wasn't going to sleep. Junho used work as an excuse and told her to go to sleep first. Eunji suddenly proposed that they at least kiss once that night. Just as she was about to lower her mouth, Eunji saw Junho's greasy lips and instantly lost interest, and asked him if he had a woman on the side. Junho is a doctor, and either performs surgery or writes papers every day. Naturally, he denied having a woman on the side. Then he told Eunji to go to bed first. Eunji woke up in the middle of the night and found that Junho had not returned to his room to sleep. She went to the study, and unexpectedly found Junho watching a romantic movie with headphones on while doing hand exercises. Junho, who had discovered his wife, quickly pulled up his pants. Eunji, on the other hand, closed the door in surprise. At that moment, Junho really wanted to cry but had no tears. The next day Eunji told Hygiene everything she had seen the night before. Hygiene advised her to do something different to keep things fresh. In the evening Eunji decided to go out. When Junho opened the door he was shocked. He found heart-shaped candles on the bedside table and on the floor. Then he heard Eunji taking a shower. He knew he was in trouble this time, so he started taking special action. Junho quickly took out a bottle of wine and gulped it down, then rushed to the refrigerator, grabbed an onion and started eating it. After doing all this, he rushed into the room, and took out a huge, smelly plaster and quickly put it on his waist. Eunji soon finished her shower and came out wriggling. Junho looked Eunji over from head to toe. Eunji urged Junho to go take a shower. Junho then pretended to be drunk and said he was very tired. Eunji was even more excited after hearing this and told Junho to go take a shower and continue drinking. Junho quickly escaped, saying that he still had work to do. Eunji then pulled him back, took off his jacket, and pushed him onto the bed. Junho took advantage of the situation and started to whine about how his back had been aching lately because of a recent surgery. But Eunji wasn't going to let him off the hook. She told Junho to just lie there for the day. When Eunji tried to cover Junho's mouth, he kept breathing out the onion smell to try and repel her. Unexpectedly, Eunji chose to take on the challenge, but Junho was strong and kept resisting. Eunji finally lost her temper when she couldn't stand it anymore. She scolded Junho for preferring to solve problems with his hands. What did she mean by looking at herself? Then she questioned him if he had a woman on the side. Junho said Eunji knew he wasn't that kind of person. Eunji asked Junho why they had to get along like this. Junho said everyone was like that. Eunji angrily asked why they had to care about other people, and said she really didn't want to live like this anymore. They didn't even have a 30-minute conversation a day. They hadn't held hands once in a week. They hadn't kissed in a month. It had even been 6 months since they had had sex, and they had been living like outsiders. Eunji didn't think this was real marriage. She kept asking Junho why things had become like this. Then Eunji sadly left the room, leaving a distressed Junho. He didn't want their marriage to be like this either. The next day, Junho asked a colleague out, and poured out his heart about what happened last night. His colleague told Junho to confess to his wife that he just doesn't get excited about her. But Junho strongly disagreed, and couldn't understand why he didn't get excited about Eunji. His colleague suggested that he try taking pills. Junho said he couldn't accept that. On the other side, Eunji also asked Hygiene out. After listening to Eunji's story, Hygiene said that the first possibility is due to stress, and the second possibility is an affair, while the most likely possibility is the third, which is that her husband is tired of her. If she wants her husband to be interested in her again, she must become someone else. After listening to this, Eunji had a plan in mind. Jiyu on the other side spat in her rice before eating. Her unsuspecting husband ate it without knowing, while Jiyu watched with relish. Every time her husband comes home drunk from a business dinner, she deliberately bumps her head against the wall. Jiyu does this because her husband despises her for being good at housework only. And every time she is scolded by her husband, she always endures it without daring to say a word. Even when her husband goes out to work, she has to bow respectfully to see him off. While tidying up the clutter in the evening, Jiyu saw a photo of them together. She took a knife and poked Jinwoo's head out. Then she gave a knowing smile. That day, Eunji and Jinwoo were in a meeting. It turned out that Eunji was the team leader of an advertising company, and Jinwoo was the director of a pharmaceutical company. The meeting was to promote an alcohol-relieving drink. However, Jinwoo thought that Eunji was a woman, and doubted that her ability would affect the promotional effect. So Eunji invited Jinwoo to test the alcohol-relieving drink together. Eunji poured herself a full glass of wine, while Jinwoo poured beer. Seeing Eunji, he drank it directly in one gulp. Jinwoo understood that he could not be careless, so he drank a dozen glasses, scaring away all his colleagues. In the end, the two of them collapsed together. Jinwoo had a habit of getting hot all over once he got drunk. Then he began to take off his clothes unconsciously. Eunji woke up and quickly helped Jinwoo cover up. Suddenly, Ji-Yu pushed the door open and saw the scene. Eunji hurriedly explained that they were just doing their jobs. After Ji-Yu picked Jinwoo up, Junho also arrived to pick up Eunji. While waiting for a taxi, Eunji brought up their married life again, and asked Junho if he was burdened because he had a child at home. She then proposed going out alone on the weekend. Eunji said she still had a free hotel voucher. Junho excitedly agreed. What Eunji didn't know was that Junho's heart was already excited. Eunji and Jinwoo's project was a great success, so the two of them went to a karaoke bar to celebrate. Eunji's singing and dancing made the leader look infatuated. He not only asked Eunji to drink a toast, but also took the opportunity to put his hand on Eunji's thigh. Jinwoo saw it but didn't dare to say anything, and Eunji could only swallow her anger for the sake of her work. The leader even asked Eunji to dance with him. Before long, his hands started to get restless. Eunji wanted to ask Jinwoo for help, but he refused. On the way home, Eunji thought about the injustice she had just suffered, and when she thought about the man at home, tears flowed down her face. When Jinwoo returned home, he found Eunji hiding in the car, crying. After some communication, they realized that they were neighbors, so the two of them sat down and talked. Eunji felt understood by Jinwoo, while Jinwoo admired Eunji's work ability, and the two of them slowly began to be attracted to each other. When they got home in the elevator, they saw Ji-Yu and Junho chatting and laughing, with their hands almost in intimate contact, and all four of them suddenly froze. It turned out that Ji-Yu had made a lot of food that night, but Jinwoo happened to be at a company party with Eunji. At that moment, the doorbell at Ji-Yu's house suddenly rang, and in came Eunji's daughter Gina, who was in the same class as Ji-Yu's daughter June. Gina compiled the essential phone numbers for the neighborhood for Ji-Yu, and Ji-Yu also learned from Gina that since Eunji had not yet returned home, Gina and her father were going to order takeout for dinner. After Gina left, Ji-Yu suddenly had an idea. She took the food to Junho, who lived across the hall. Junho was surprised but happy to receive it. The delicious food made Junho and the two children very hungry. Ji-Yu, who had been eavesdropping, gave a wicked smile. When Junho returned the dishes, Ji-Yu had specially applied lipstick. So it happened that the several people met in the elevator. Eunji quickly introduced Junho to Jinwoo, saying that he was a client of her company. After some conversation, everyone learned that the children were in the same class. Junho praised Ji-Yu's cooking is very good. Jinwoo envied Junho and said that Eunji was very capable outside. Ji-Yu listened and looked alertly at Eunji. Jinwoo, who had just entered the house, began lecturing Ji-Yu, blaming her for wasting money cooking so much food. Ji-Yu endured in silence. After Junho returned home, he kept praising Ji-Yu's cooking and envying Jinwoo for marrying such a good wife. Eunji was speechless when she heard this. She opened the rice cooker and was shocked to find the rice inside had gone moldy. Early the next morning, Eunji started cooking breakfast. When everyone was full of expectations, they found that the food was very salty, so everyone said they had to leave early. When Eunji left for work, she met Jinwoo and Ji-Yu. Jinwoo held the elevator door open for Eunji, but ignored Ji-Yu and walked in, which caused Ji-Yu to get her behind caught in the elevator door. Later, he praised Eunji's work ability in the elevator, completely ignoring Ji-Yu's feelings. When they arrived at the parking lot, Eunji found that her car was blocked. Jinwoo immediately rushed over to help push the car. Ji-Yu was stunned by this display of affection. Her husband had never helped her like this before. She had even moved house all by herself. Unable to move the car, Jinwoo asked Eunji to take his car to work. Ji-Yu's eyes widened. Eunji felt embarrassed. Jinwoo opened the passenger door for Eunji. Ji-Yu followed behind like a nanny. While holding Jinwoo's bag, she bowed to see Eunji off. Ji-Yu looked at Eunji in the car. Eunji lost her bag and picked it up to cover her thighs. Ji-Yu then bowed to see Eunji off. Eunji felt very embarrassed. In the car, Eunji said she could have taken a taxi, and that Ji-Yu would be upset if she did that. However, Jinwoo said it was fine, and even said that he wanted to drive with Eunji to work in the future. Eunji wants to improve their sex life, and has arranged to go to a hotel with her husband at the weekend. Junho is excited and nervous when he hears the news, and immediately calls a colleague to get some pills. In the evening, Eunji is waiting for Junho early, but Junho has actually already arrived at the hotel. He is waiting for his colleague to bring the pills. What he doesn't expect is that his colleague has also brought his wife, and she has run straight to Eunji's seat. So the four of them sit down. Then the colleague and his wife keep showing off their affection, trying to provoke Junho's nerves. Junho quickly called his colleague to the bathroom and questioned him what he was doing. He asked his colleague to hand over the pills. Junho was about to swallow the pills when his colleague snatched them away. Junho asked him what this meant. His colleague said that he could not satisfy his wife either. Junho, who had lost his last hope, was very mad. When they returned to the table, his colleague said that he had to leave first. Then he raised his glass and proposed a toast to Junho. Before leaving, he didn't forget to wink at Junho. At that moment, Eunji picked up Junho's glass and drained it in one go. Junho was surprised beyond words. After taking a shower, Eunji was wearing a bunny suit, which left Junho dumbfounded and his face contorted. Due to the effect of the pills, Eunji couldn't wait any longer, but Junho still hadn't reacted, so he used the time in the shower to watch a movie to recharge. You'd be surprised, but it really worked. We could see Junho's battery power rising non-stop, especially when he saw Eunji's bunny outfit from behind. His battery power instantly filled up, but when Eunji turned around and revealed her face, Junho's just filled battery power kept draining, but Eunji's pent-up energy had to be released. Once again, she pushed Junho onto the bed. It looked like Eunji was about to make her move, but Junho counterattacked in a 360-degree turn. Eunji closed her eyes and waited for Junho to go crazy, but instead Junho burst into tears, leaving Eunji completely baffled. Junho then confessed that he couldn't get aroused around her. Eunji was furious and pushed him away, asking him what was going on. Junho said he had noticed the problem a while ago, so he had watched a movie about it, and found that it was not a problem, but he just couldn't get aroused around Eunji. Eunji asked Junho what the problem was. Junho explained that it might be because they were too familiar with each other that they didn't think about it. He then added that conjugal life was dispensable, but that it would not affect his love for Eunji. Eunji, however, said that Junho's ham had changed its heart, otherwise it would not have treated her like a woman. After saying this, Eunji packed her things and was about to leave. Junho, on the other hand, cried out in pain, "Wife!" Soon, Eunji returned home. What she never expected was that Ji-yu was cooking in her house. Eunji was shocked and felt her sovereignty being violated. Ji-yu asked her if she wasn't going on a trip. Eunji said that Junho had been called back to work overtime by the hospital, so she came home early. When Ji-yu left, Gina told her mother that Ji-yu had been a nurse before. This made Eunji feel very surprised. She scolded the children for letting just anyone in. Her daughter said that Ji-yu was the mother of a classmate. Eunji said, "This is their kitchen." Then she dumped all the food that Ji-yu had cooked. Women's jealousy is terrible. Early the next morning, Junho met Ji-yu when she returned from grocery shopping. After talking in the elevator, Ji-yu found out that Junho had not worked overtime at the hospital last night. She immediately smiled. Junho began to praise Ji-yu's cooking, and Ji-yu told Junho to let her know if there was anything he wanted to eat. When Junho entered the house and opened the door, he didn't forget to look back at Ji-yu. Could it be that the food attracted Junho? After returning to his room, Junho wanted to communicate with Eunji. However, Eunji simply didn't want to talk to him. He also noticed that there was one less pillow on the bed. Opening the door to the study, Eunji had indeed prepared a set of pillows and quilts for him. Junho thought that this would not do and began to change himself. He actively tidied up the clutter in the house and took care of the hygiene. Meanwhile, Ji-yu, his neighbor, kept lighting up the screen of the door lock. She finally caught Junho leaving the house. Ji-yu began to pretend to bump into him, and deliberately revealed that she was going to make cold noodles to eat. Junho became interested when he heard about eating cold noodles. Then Ji-yu brought out the finished cold noodles. This made Junho very surprised, and Ji-yu also revealed a smile on her face. Junho envies Jinwoo for having a good wife while eating cold noodles. That night, he sees Eunji come home and wants to make a hangover soup for her, but Eunji says that Junho doesn't treat her like a woman, and that she doesn't treat Junho like a human being, and that she can't see him anymore, and tells Junho not to pretend to know her. That's the day they start sleeping in separate rooms. On the other side, Jinwoo is calculating the living expenses. He blamed Ji-yu for overspending so much money, even though Ji-yu explained that the money was spent on the family. Jinwoo still lectured her one by one, saying that she could do nothing but housework. Then he said that Eunji, the neighbor's wife, also went out to work hard at the weekend. He said that Ji-yu didn't understand how hard it was to earn money. Ji-yu was very angry when she heard this, but she didn't dare to argue back. After Sang-ji fell asleep, Ji-yu stood by the bed. She picked up the pillow and covered Jinwoo's head, and suddenly heard her daughter call out to her. It turned out that everything that had just happened was all in Ji-yu's imagination. She started to sign up for taekwondo lessons, and within a short time, she had knocked both of her instructors to the ground. It seems that Ji-yu already had a plan in mind. After she left, the instructor said that they needed to order 2 sets of protective gear. That day, Ji-yu went to the hospital to find Junho. On the surface, she was asking about her mother's condition, but she actually wanted to give Junho some sweet potato pills that she had made herself. Junho was very surprised, so he invited Ji-yu to have a cup of coffee with him. They sat in Eunji's garden. Junho reminisced about the days when he was an intern at the hospital. Whenever he was sad or tired, he would come here to vent his emotions. Ji-yu said that this place was also very familiar to her. It turned out that when Ji-yu was young, she worked as a nurse at this hospital, and once she also shed tears of sadness here. Junho even comforted her at the time, but now Junho doesn't recognize Ji-yu, and Ji-yu hasn't revealed her identity. At this time, Jinwoo learned from his leader that the company may have internally decided on a candidate for the election, and he began to worry about Eunji's plan. Eunji, because of her unhappy marital life, constantly arranges social activities at work, but was opposed by Seo Yun, because she witnessed Eunji being taken advantage of by her boss, and their work group has never needed to engage in entertainment. In the end, the two argued, just as Hyejin appeared and took Eunji away from the scene. Hyejin doesn't understand why she has become like this. Perhaps it is caused by the lack of marital harmony. That day Eunji once again set up entertainment in order to win the project. Jinwoo's company leader unexpectedly asked Eunji to sit next to him. Eunji could not refuse and obediently sat next to him. The leader took Eunji's hand and asked her to dance with him. All of this was seen by Jinwoo. He had a brainstorm and approached the leader, whispering something. Then Jinwoo and the leader left first. Jinwoo looked at Eunji and nodded. Eunji then understood that Jinwoo had saved her, and Seo Yun rolled her eyes at her. Eunji understands that Seo Yun is also looking out for her own interests. After returning downstairs, Eunji sends Jinwoo a message, asking how she got rid of the leader. It turns out that Jinwoo took the leader to a karaoke bar, and he replied in the message that there was nothing. Eunji laughs and replies with words of thanks and the like. The leader, who had drunk too much at the karaoke bar, kept saying bad things about Eunji. Jinwoo is worried that Eunji's plan will be eliminated. Later, Eunji saw Jinwoo being driven back while taking out the trash, so the two of them sat down again. Eunji asked Jinwoo if he had deliberately come to her rescue. Jinwoo did not admit it and said that it was hard for Eunji to endure. Eunji said that if she failed this time, she would not only lose her job but also her future prospects. Jinwoo kept encouraging Eunji and even managed to make her laugh. Their conversation was filled with laughter, and their conversation was heard by Ji-yu, who was hiding nearby. Ji-yu, who had returned home, took Eunji's business card while Jinwoo was taking a bath. Junho's director is a profit-oriented person, but Junho does not want to go along with the flow. The director then wanted to transfer him to a branch that was about to close down. After learning about this, his colleagues immediately told Junho, and then took out a row of pills. He said that having a normal sex life helps improve a couple's relationship. The next day, Jinwoo met Eunji. He secretly gave Eunji internal company documents, in the hope that it would help her win the bid. This was witnessed by Seo Yun, who had more thoughts about Eunji. After work that night, Eunji asked Jinwoo out for a drink. They talked about the hardships of starting out in the workplace. This brought the two closer together. On the other side, Junho took the pill and did squats to welcome Eunji home, while Jinwoo and the others called for a designated driver. Due to the tiredness of the day and the effect of alcohol, seeing Eunji staggering, Jinwoo even took the initiative to lean in. He just wanted to taste the lipstick, but the car shook a little, and Eunji had actually woken up a long time ago, then pretended to have just woken up, saying that he could get off at the entrance of the community, so as to avoid misunderstandings if people saw them. As a result, Ji-yu saw Eunji getting off the elevator. Ji-yu then deliberately waited for Eunji to appear in the elevator. Eunji was so scared that she almost lost her mind. Ji-yu even deliberately told Eunji that she saw her husband come back, and that's why she went downstairs to pick him up. In the end, she even gave her the death stare. Eunji returned to her room and saw the candles and Junho lying on the bed. Junho, who had taken the pill, wanted to show his true strength, but Eunji was no longer interested in him at this time, and Junho said that he was now very fierce. When Eunji heard this, she asked if he had taken any medicine, and Junho's stammering was immediately seen through, which made Eunji even more disgusted with him. She said that she was not the type of person who had to work overtime, and told him to get out and go watch a movie. Junho had no choice but to leave in a huff. Due to the powerful effect of the medicine, Junho could not sleep all night. The next day when they went out to work, they met the couple Jinwoo, who were also going out. The two couples looked at each other, and the atmosphere was very subtle. Suddenly, Eunji took Junho's hand. This made Junho feel very strange, and Ji-yu and the others were also very surprised. After entering the elevator, Ji-yu discovered that Eunji and her husband had ointment stuck on their necks, so she deliberately asked Jinwoo if his neck still hurt. The children all looked at the adults strangely. Junho asked Jinwoo if his neck was uncomfortable. Jinwoo nervously said that he might not have slept well yesterday. This made Eunji's nerves instantly tense up. She quickly used her hand to block the ointment on her neck. Ji-yu, on the other hand, stared at Eunji intently. The boss asked Jinwoo to give Eunji's proposal to Eunji's competitor, because he thought Eunji would not sacrifice for her career and would not give priority to. Jinwoo immediately told Eunji about this, and asked her to revise the advertising proposal, and asked her to have dinner with him that night. Eunji saw the invitation text message and revealed a long-lost smile. Gina went to a concert with her boyfriend. June knew about it and followed, but she didn't like the atmosphere, because she secretly liked Gina's boyfriend. When it was over and they were leaving, June ran into her father and Eunji having dinner. This scene had a profound impact on her. When June returned home, she saw her mother preparing dinner as usual. She suddenly felt very uncomfortable, because she knew very well how her father treated her mother. June asked her mother if it wasn't hard living like this. Didn't she want to have her own social life and go out shopping and eating? Ji-Yu asked June why she was saying these things. June asked if a man could listen to his wife and then go out to eat with other people. Ji-Yu didn't understand her daughter's words. Seeing a photo of a boy on her daughter's phone, Ji-Yu thought her daughter just wanted to fall in love. Just then, Ji-Yu received a phone call. It turned out to be Ji-Yu's mother who needed emergency care. She quickly knocked on Junho's door and asked him to help save her mother. On the other side, Eunji saw Jinwoo's husband's number appear on his phone, which made her instantly nervous. When Jinwoo arrived at the hospital, he saw Junho tenderly comforting Ji-Yu, and he suddenly froze, and Ji-Yu's entire expression changed because of Jinwoo's arrival. Later, Junho said that Ji-Yu's mother had completely recovered from the danger. After Junho left, Jinwoo asked his mother if she was okay, and Ji-Yu said she was fine while respectfully saying thank you. The two of them don't look like a couple at all. Jinwoo asked her how she knew that Junho was a brain surgeon. Ji-Yu lied and said she didn't know. She just thought that a doctor could help. The next day Junho arrived at the hospital at 6 a.m. He found Ji-Yu had stayed up all night at the hospital. Junho wanted to buy her a cup of coffee, but Ji-Yu said she had to rush back to make breakfast for her family. But Junho still insisted that she have a cup of coffee before going back. During their conversation, Ji-Yu's mother was revealed to be very mean to her. Back then, her mother forced Ji-Yu to give up university and arranged her marriage. All of this was for the sake of money. Ji-Yu began to cry as she spoke. Junho quickly handed her a towel. This reminded Ji-Yu of the scenes from that time. She once again felt the warmth she had long missed. Unable to control her emotions, Ji-Yu didn't want Junho to see her in a sorry state, so she ran away from the hospital. Back at the office, Junho remembered the first time he saw Ji-Yu. Unbeknownst to him, Ji-Yu seemed to have run into his heart. Junho couldn't figure out what was going on. When Ji-Yu's family had breakfast, Jinwoo touched his daughter's shoulder out of concern, but she rejected him. This made him feel very strange. Ji-Yu then told her daughter to eat more. June, however, said, "Are you a machine, busy all day long?" Ji-Yu said, "Grandma is already feeling better. Mom is not tired at all." It turned out that June knew that her mother had stayed up all night taking care of her grandmother at the hospital and then rushed back to make breakfast. She felt unfair for her mother's hard work. Jinwoo said that Eunji, his neighbor, was also very worried about her mother's condition yesterday. He asked Ji-Yu to make some food and deliver it. June became even more angry after hearing this. On the other side, Eunji was introducing the revised advertising plan she had made. As a result, it was highly recognized by Jinwoo's company. This made the leader feel very surprised. He then called Jinwoo into his office to question him about what was going on. Jinwoo had to pretend that he knew nothing about it. However, his boss was able to expose him. His boss said that he must have done it for Eunji. He then scolded Jinwoo for being an ungrateful person. Jinwoo offended his boss because of this incident. On the other side, Ji-Yu specially made a sumptuous lunch for Jinwoo. Junho asked Ji-Yu how she could insist on making such good food. Ji-Yu said that seeing the person she likes eating what she makes gives her the motivation to keep making it. Junho really approves of what Ji-Yu said. Suddenly, Ji-Yu asks Junho if he doesn't remember her. On the other side, Jinwoo has made a date with Eunji to meet. Eunji is eager to know if the project proposal has been approved. However, Jinwoo takes Eunji's hands and gives her a 20,000-word confession. Eunji said that she also had feelings for him, but that she already had a family and children. Jinwoo said that he didn't care about any of that, and since she wasn't imagining things, they could be together. Eunji begged him to let her go, and said that if it was inconvenient, she would give up on the project. Jinwoo said that the project had already been approved. Eunji said that she would never forget that Jinwoo had helped her, and she hoped that Jinwoo could let her work in peace. Jinwoo understands that Eunji is rejecting him, so he apologizes to Eunji. When Jinwoo gets home, he tells Ji-Yu not to cook so often in the future. It's good to eat instant food once in a while. Ji-Yu says that it's not nutritious, but Sang-soo says that the neighbor across the street keeps eating it and is still healthy. Ji-Yu is speechless. While sleeping, Jinwoo hears Ji-Yu open the door and turned his body around. Ji-Yu saw her husband's reaction and practiced some taekwondo. It seems that she is looking for an opportunity to get rid of Jinwoo. At this time, Junho recalled Ji-Yu's words. It turned out that after Ji-Yu was comforted and encouraged by Junho, she developed feelings of affection for Junho. She often secretly gave him snacks. Back then, Junho couldn't figure out who it was that sent them. Now he finally knows. That night, Junho returned home and was furious to see the mess. He accused Eunji of only working and not even cleaning the house, while Eunji was taking off her coat in her room. Junho happened to open the door and come in. Eunji asked him why he didn't knock. Junho said that this was his room. The two then had a fight. Junho believed that his wife should not treat him in this manner. He said that his neighbor Jinwoo was very respected by his wife. Eunji says that Jiwoo doesn't need to work hard to support the family, and if Junho could be like Jinwoo, she would definitely treat him respectfully. Junho asks Eunji why she has to live with him if that's the case. Eunji says that if she had known this, she definitely would not have married him. Junho says that it's not too late. If it weren't for Eunji, he wouldn't be treated like this. At least he can eat hot meals every day. Eunji sees that Junho is talking about the neighbors again, and tells him to just live with the woman from the neighborhood. Junho says that if he could, he would really do that. Eunji seriously asks him if he really means it. Junho says defiantly that of course he means it. After hearing this, Eunji proposes to get a divorce. Junho pretends that he is going to be transferred to a branch hospital. He says that since they are getting a divorce, this is just perfect. Eunji is very angry after hearing this and threatens him. If you dare to go to the branch hospital, I will tell mom and dad. Junho immediately became a little scared when he heard this, because he had refused the transfer from the hospital director, and the director had begun to ignore Junho and make things difficult for him in every way possible. His colleagues were very worried about Junho, and Junho said that he might go to work in the branch hospital. His colleagues did not understand why he wanted to stay at the headquarters. Junho said that he and Eunji were getting a divorce, and his colleagues dissuaded him from doing anything rash. After all, it was Eunji who had provided his tuition fees in the first place, which had led to his success today. Junho said that a woman should give in when she should. However, his colleague asked Junho if he didn't marry Eunji because he liked her. He also said that Junho once said that Eunji was his greatest benefactor. The colleague said that Junho could not change his mind so easily. He used to think that was a good quality, but now it had become a flaw. Moreover, Eunji had previously worked night shifts to help her in-laws. Junho, who had returned to the office, listened carefully to what his colleague said. Just then, Ji-yu came over. After consulting about her mother's condition, Junho said that in the future, if there are any problems, they can first ask the nurse on duty. When Ji-yu was about to leave, Junho said that he didn't remember Ji-yu having been a nurse. After leaving, Ji-yu seemed to have lost her soul. That day, Eunji found some dishes from the neighbors in the house, so she immediately called her daughter to ask. She learned that her husband had eaten other women's food. She angrily threw the dishes into the trash can. Junho returned home and tried to find the dishes to return them to Ji-yu, while Eunji stood in the doorway of the room watching him. Jin-woo, on the other hand, had just returned home and turned to look at Eunji's house. This scene was being watched by Ji-yu in front of the door. Jin-woo entered the house and said he would sleep in the study for work reasons. Later, Ji-yu discovered her own dishes when taking out the trash. She thought Junho had thrown them out and was very angry, offended her boss for helping Eunji. Jinwoo asked Ji-yu to attend the company's couples party and get close to the wives of the company's leaders. The next day, at breakfast, Jinwoo once again reminded Ji-yu to buy some nice clothes for the party. June asked her father what the definition of nice was, and how much money was considered nice. Jinwoo then told Ji-yu to settle the bill and call him to tell him the price. Then he added that Eunji's hairstyle was good and asked her to take it as a reference. June felt very uncomfortable when she heard this. When they arrived at the barber shop, Ji-yu asked the hairstylist to do the opposite of Eunji's hairstyle. When buying the bag, Ji-yu called her husband. After calculating the recent expenses, she said that the clothes and bag could not exceed 1 million won. When paying the bill, Ji-yu took out 2 cards. She swiped 500,000 won with one card and the rest with the other card. That day, Junho's younger brother found Eunji. Eunji nervously asked him why he was here. It turned out that Ji-woo was Eunji's ex-boyfriend. He came to see her this time because he had no money to fill up the car. Haejin saw this and came out to bail her out. Then Haejin called Ji-woo to a cafe. It turned out that she had long known that Ji-woo would ask Eunji for money every time he ran out of money, and Eunji always succumbs to his blackmail. Haejin doesn't understand why Eunji is so afraid of him, so she decides to ask Ji-woo herself, but the guy just won't talk. On the other side, the leader calls Jinwoo into his office and says that the advertising campaign was originally decided internally, but the results turned out to be inconsistent. The company's senior management has begun investigating the matter and already suspects Jinwoo's relationship with Eunji. The leader asks Jinwoo to make a choice. Either Eunji gives up the plan that has been approved or resigns. Meanwhile, Eunji's boss Young-hee also found her and asked about the plan. Eunji thus learned that Jinwoo would be investigated. Worried about Jinwoo, Eunji immediately took a taxi to meet Jinwoo. After the two met, Eunji asked him why he did that. Then she hugged Jinwoo tightly and shed tears. Jinwoo, however, smiled reassuringly and told Eunji not to do anything for now, as he would handle the matter himself. Eunji said that she would face it together with him. When Junho returned home, he met Ji-yu in the elevator. He praised Ji-yu for her new hairstyle. Ji-yu deliberately asked him if he had found the dishes, and asked Junho to return them to her. While Junho was looking for the dishes, Eun-ji happened to return from work. She said she had thrown it away because she had never seen it before. Junho thought Eun-ji had thrown it away because she knew it belonged to her neighbor. Before long, the two of them started arguing. Junho told Eun-ji to buy the same one and return it to the owner. Eun-ji asked him what his relationship with Ji-yu really was. Junho asked Eun-ji what her relationship with Jinwoo was. In the end, the two of them argued and parted on bad terms. The next day when he went out, Junho saw a note Eun-ji left for him, reminding him to give his mother her living expenses tomorrow. Eun-ji didn't want to be scolded again for giving her money. Junho asked Dr. Cho to tell the dean that he would not go to the branch hospital, and then he compared the prices of the drugs he was currently using with those of the future group. Each drug was 3 times more expensive and the patients had to bear the cost. Junho said he would never agree to this, and Dr. Cho said these drugs were patented drugs. Once a medical dispute occurs, the hospital can be protected to a certain extent, but Junho doesn't buy his argument and says he will only agree to a public price bidding. On the other side, Eun-ji asks Hae-jin what will happen after the divorce. Hae-jin believes that Eun-ji simply cannot leave Junho because she married him because she liked taking care of him. Eun-ji says she was ignorant at the time. Hae-jin says that before getting married, you should have more boyfriends and make a decision when it's right. Eun-ji bluntly said that it was useless to regret now, but Hae-jin said that couples should just communicate more about their problems in bed, because Eun-ji's project was being investigated. Yong-hee was worried about the company's reputation, so he found Eun-ji's husband and explained what happened with Eun-ji's project. If this matter is not handled properly, Eun-ji will not only lose her job, but the company's reputation will also be damaged. He hoped that Junho would reconsider and agree to use their company's medicine, and the medicine is from Jinwoo's company. But Eun-ji doesn't want to implicate her husband and says she can resign. The president says that even if Eun-ji resigns, Jinwoo will still be punished, and Jinwoo was originally going to be promoted. After hearing this, Eun-ji's heart began to waver. On the other hand, Jinwoo's leader is also very happy, because he has found the perfect solution. As long as Jinwoo convinces Junho to let bygones be bygones. Jinwoo refused his boss's offer for fear of affecting Eun-ji. His boss said that Jinwoo had gone crazy over a woman, and told him to think about his wife and daughter. As soon as he left the office, Jinwoo was packed up for an investigation. Meanwhile, Ji-yu started practicing more advanced self-defense techniques. She made such rapid progress that her instructor was unable to defend himself against her moves. In the changing room, Ji-yu received a text message from Junho inviting her to meet him. After meeting, Junho kept stammering and talking. Ji-yu said she knew Eun-ji had deliberately thrown the dishes, and blamed herself for giving Junho food, while Junho said it was all his fault. Ji-yu didn't understand what he meant. Junho explained that it was because he had compared Ji-yu to Eun-ji, and praised Ji-yu for not only cooking well but also doing the housework well. That's why Eun-ji was so angry. Ji-yu was very happy after hearing this. Junho said he would buy new dishes to compensate. Ji-yu, however, said that he could just treat her to a nice meal. Junho went home and asked Eun-ji if she wanted some wine. Eun-ji, who was in a bad mood, nodded. He originally wanted to talk about Eun-ji's company. Unexpectedly, Junho suddenly remembered what his colleague had said. Just imagine your wife as another woman and you'll be interested. Unexpectedly, he really fantasized about Ji-yu. Junho then began to respond. Eun-ji, who was puzzled, asked him what was wrong. Junho hurriedly explained that he had been a bit tired lately. He then said that he would not go to the branch office. Eun-ji was very happy to hear this. At that moment, Junho took Eun-ji's hand and apologized to her seriously. Eun-ji said sorry to him. Junho said that we would work together to make life better. Eun-ji asked Junho to go back to his room and go to sleep, and the two of them fell asleep holding hands. The next day, Ji-yu saw Jinwoo leaving for work and noticed that he was distracted. Ji-yu asked him what was wrong, and Jinwoo said he was fine and asked Ji-yu to just take care of the kids. Ji-yu told him not to worry about anything at home. Jinwoo suddenly touched Ji-yu's shoulder and told her thank you, and then said not to worry about things outside because that was his job. Ji-yu also said thank you. In the end, both of them laughed. She suddenly felt that Jinwoo had changed as a whole. Jinwoo returned to the company and found that his desk had been emptied. Eun-ji on the other side had arranged a meeting with Jinwoo's leader. She threatened the leader with sexual harassment to let Jinwoo go. The leader scolded Eun-ji for not knowing the times. Jinwoo has been suspended without pay, and now he dares to threaten him. He asked Eun-ji if she knew how many years of hard work Jinwoo had put in to get where he is today. He is the sole breadwinner for the family. Jinwoo is so reckless for a woman. Eun-ji felt very remorseful after hearing this. On the other side, Junho invited Ji-yu out to dinner. When he pulled out a chair, he saw Ji-Yu wearing a semi-transparent dress. His eyes became even bigger than a dinosaur's. Ji-Yu asked Junho if he really didn't remember her. She said that she had been trying hard to get into Junho's heart, but it seemed that someone was deliberately stopping her. It was at that time that she met Jinwoo. Then she said that the pen Junho was using now was exactly the same one she had given to someone else back then, but she didn't give it to that person herself back then, so she didn't know if the person had received it or not. At that moment, Junho recalled the birthday present his younger brother had given him back then. Jiwoo said it was from Eunji, and when he opened it, it was the same pen Ji-Yu had mentioned, and it was also very valuable. When he got home that night, Junho tried to ask Eunji about the pen, but Eunji got nervous and said that the pen had been used for 20 years and told him to throw it away. Junho pretended to be fine and left. Ji-Yu prepared a table full of delicious food and invited the parents of the PTA to come. However, everyone found Junho's behavior problematic. Jinwoo kept staring at Eunji, as if he was afraid she would disappear. All of this was witnessed by the mothers on the PTA. They believed that there must be something wrong with these two couples. After everyone had left, Jinwoo lectured Ji-Yu again, blaming her for wasting so much effort cooking. But Ji-Yu didn't know that Jinwoo had been suspended without pay. That day, Jinwoo found the leader and knelt down to apologize, and promised that he would work harder in the future. The leader told Jinwoo that if he wanted to keep his job, he would have to convince Junho to agree to use the company's medicine. So he quickly found Junho and begged for help. Junho said that he had his own principles as a doctor and resolutely refused. Ji-Yu, who had been eavesdropping, came out. She then learned that her husband had been suspended without pay. Early the next morning, Ji-Yu prepared a lot of food with great care. Later, she came to the leader's house. After meeting the boss's wife, she first congratulated them on their daughter's marriage to a wealthy family, and then said that she knew the food that was given as a bride price, but buying it would not be enough to show sincerity, so she made some and came to give it to the wife. Ji-Yu set out the food she had made, and the wife was dumbfounded. Ji-Yu said that she could tell her if she needed anything in the future. Eunji came to the hospital to find her husband in order to help Jinwoo, hoping that he would accept the medicine from Jinwoo's company. But Junho said that the medicine from the future company was too expensive, and he didn't want to break his principles as a doctor. Unexpectedly, Eunji's pitiful request made her husband change for her for once. Soon, the leader found Jinwoo and asked him to come back to work tomorrow. However, Eunji's project proposal still needs to be investigated. Jinwoo was very surprised. The leader then told him everything Ji-Yu had done for him. At this time, Ji-Yu was still cooking at the leader's house. Only she knew how hard it was. Even so, she still had to face her wife with a smile. On the other side, Junho found the dean and said sorry with difficulty, which made the dean very happy. Junho still gave up his principles for Eunji and agreed to use the medicine from Myri company. On the other side, Ji-Yu worked from morning to night at the leader's house, and was so tired that her whole body ached. When she walked out, she met Jinwoo, who had been waiting for a long time, which made Ji-Yu feel very surprised. Jinwoo planned to take her to eat something delicious, and then help her carry her things. Ji-Yu was not used to such treatment for a while. On the other side, Eunji also received a text message from Junho. He said he had already apologized to the dean, and asked Eunji not to worry, that he would take care of it. After reading it, Eunji immediately rushed out. She took a taxi to the entrance of Junho's hospital, and just happened to see Junho coming out of work. The two of them just looked at each other for an hour. Eunji finally couldn't hold back and ran over to tightly hug Junho. At this moment, I believe they love each other. Jiwoo came to Eunji's building and happened to meet Ji-Yu, who was going home. He quickly ran out and called Eunji. Junho knew it was Jiwoo who called and asked Eunji not to answer. Later, Eunji received a text message from Jiwoo, saying that he had seen the nurse who liked Junho, and was the owner of the pen that year. Eunji instantly froze. When he got home, Jiwoo asked Eunji to cook him a bowl of ramen. Unexpectedly, Eunji immediately agreed. This made Junho feel very strange. Why does my wife listen to her younger brother so much? Before going to bed, Junho said that Jiwoo was so cheeky. Eunji said that it might be because he has played matchmaker for us. At that moment, Junho remembered what Jiwoo had said. Then Junho asked Eunji if Jiwoo had done something I don't know. However, Eunji said she didn't know. Eunji, who couldn't sleep, recalled the scene from that year. It turned out that on Junho's birthday that year, Eunji and Jiwoo found the gift from Ji-Yu, and the gift was that expensive pen. Eunji wanted to throw the pen away, but Jiwoo suggested turning the gift into a gift from Eunji. That's why Ji-Yu recognized the pen at first glance. But Eunji still doesn't know that Ji-Yu is the nurse. While she and Jiwoo are discussing a plan, Jiwoo asks her if anyone has moved into the neighborhood recently. Eunji suddenly remembers what her daughter said. On the other side, Ji-Yu has to get up at 3 o'clock to cook in order to save her husband's job. Jinwoo hugs Ji-Yu and says he's sorry. Ji-Yu is obviously not used to this kind of care. After arriving at the leader's home, Ji-Yu learned from the wife that the main reason Jinwoo was being reviewed by the company was because of this woman Eunji. Ji-Yu's face changed after hearing this. The next day, The wife asked Ji-Woo if Jinwoo's attitude towards her had changed. The wife said that this is how she got through it. If a man goes too far, just endure it, and when he's down and out, just abandon him. Ji-Woo let out a terrifying glare after hearing this. Jinwoo returned to the company and learned that Junho had agreed to use the company's medicine. Eun-ji told Hae-jin about her and Ji-Woo. Hae-jin said that Eun-ji's actions felt like she was stealing Ji-Woo's fate. Eun-ji was afraid that Ji-Woo had moved across the street on purpose. If they were to recognize each other, it would be over. Jinwoo on the other side sent a message to Eun-ji, saying that he had previously asked Junho for help but was rejected, and now he suddenly agreed. Was it because of Eun-ji? Eun-ji wanted to keep everyone at a distance. In the end, there was no reply from Jinwoo, but the two still met in the elevator. So Jinwoo continued to pursue Eun-ji, and Eun-ji said that the reason she did that was for her family. She hoped that Jinwoo would not misunderstand, but Jinwoo believed that everything he did was for Eun-ji. So he pushed the elevator to the top floor and wanted to have a good talk with Eun-ji, but Eun-ji didn't want to talk to him. So she pushed the elevator back to the 13th floor, and Jinwoo pushed it back to the top floor, and the two of them kept pushing the elevator back and forth. And in the end Jinwoo even grabbed Eun-ji's hand and said he wanted to have a good talk with her. Eun-ji didn't expect Jinwoo to be so reckless in the residential area. During the struggle between the two, the elevator door slowly opened, and Ji-Woo happened to get a full view of the scene. Jinwoo tried to get out but was pulled back by Ji-Woo. She said she believed that Jinwoo would never abandon his family, and that she also believed that Jinwoo would never do anything to hurt his children. Jinwoo asked her what she meant. Ji-Woo said that's what I'm willing to say in front of Eun-ji. When Eun-ji returned home, she acted very unnaturally. This made Junho ask about the fountain pen again. He asked Eun-ji where she bought the fountain pen, but Eun-ji said she couldn't remember, and her voice got louder and louder. Junho became even more suspicious that there must be something fishy. On the other side, Ji-Woo was pounding the ingredients, deliberately making loud noises to make Jinwoo, who was reading, feel bad. When it was time to sleep, Ji-Woo deliberately said she wanted to massage Jinwoo, and as she pressed, she fell over. The two of them naturally carried out their conjugal duties. What they didn't expect was that Ji-Woo had filmed this passionate scene. The next day, Eun-ji learned that the company would be holding a strategy meeting with the Myri group over the weekend. Eun-ji wanted to stay away from Jinwoo, so she proposed not to participate, but was opposed by the president. The parents of the home committee organized a camping trip for the weekend. Eun-ji and Jinwoo had to go to a meeting, so Ji-Woo and Junho accompanied the children to the campsite. When they set off, Ji-Woo suggested that Eun-ji ride in Jinwoo's car. Jun asked her father if he really had to go to the meeting. Jinwoo said that it was about work. Jun looked at Eun-ji discontentedly, and then said that her father wasn't even there for work. She then left. When getting into the car, Eun-ji turned to Ji-Woo, and Ji-Woo also turned to look at Eun-ji, and gave her a meaningful smile, which made Eun-ji feel inexplicably worried. The camping team played a game on the way out. The husband and wife formed a pair, and they had to kiss each other when they sang lyrics about love, which startled Ji-Woo. Then Junho said that his wife was on a business trip and asked if they could not participate. The host said that it happened to be that Ji-Woo was also alone, and asked them to be temporary lovers. The crowd immediately gave a round of warm applause. When setting up the tent, Ji-Woo was very fast, just as Junho was amazed at her abilities. The family committee organized a sports competition to check the affection between husband and wife. Ji-Woo and Junho worked together very well. When they performed the three-legged race, they were even faster than running. Ji-Woo even specially taught Junho to dance the tango. In the evening, Eun-ji called her daughter and asked her to send a picture of Junho's current situation, but instead, she saw Ji-Woo feeding Junho. She also saw the sports competition between Ji-Woo and Junho. This made Eun-ji feel very uneasy, so she immediately drove to the campsite. But Jinwoo stopped her. Knowing that Eun-ji had been drinking, Jinwoo said that he would drive. Eun-ji was worried that if they went together, people would misunderstand, but Jinwoo stubbornly opened the car door. On the other side, Ji-Woo and Junho couldn't sleep and started chatting. Ji-Woo learned from Junho that although he got married and has a family, he doesn't feel the warmth of home. Ji-Woo said that although she got married, she has never been truly loved. To Jinwoo, Ji-Woo is more of a grateful person. Junho asked her if she has ever met the right person. Ji-Woo said that the person she gave the pen to is. At this time, Eun-ji and Jinwoo also arrived at the campsite. She happened to see Junho covering Ji-Woo's quilt. Eun-ji was afraid that Jinwoo had also seen it and quickly pulled him away. After returning to the hotel, Jinwoo asked her what was wrong. Eun-ji said that she saw her husband being very affectionate with other women. Jinwoo, however, said that he knew that Ji-Woo liked someone else before they got married, so for so many years, he has always been indifferent to Ji-Woo. On the way back from camping, Junho and Ji-Woo kept looking at each other, with smiles on their faces. After getting off the bus back at the housing estate, Eun-ji stared at Ji-Woo, and Ji-Woo looked at Eun-ji expressionlessly. Jinwoo remembered what Eun-ji had said and went over to help Ji-Woo tidy up, but Ji-Woo found his help strange. That night, Eunji's family were watching TV. She noticed that her husband was dozing off, so Eunji deliberately asked him if he didn't sleep well last night. Her daughter said she hadn't seen her father since early morning. At that moment, Eunji received a message from Jinwoo. She deliberately complained that why did someone send a work text message on the weekend? Then she said she would go back to her room to reply. At this time, Junho also carefully took out his mobile phone and sent a text message to Ji-Yu to apologize. He said that they had a late chat yesterday, which caused him to feel a bit sleepy today, while Jinwoo was replying to Eunji's message. At that moment, Ji-Yu asked him to go out for dinner. Ji-Yu wanted to check Jinwoo's phone after he left, but unexpectedly, he returned and took the phone away. Ji-Yu happened to meet Eunji when he went out to take the trash. The moment the elevator door opened, the two rushed in quickly. They didn't want to lose to each other. Eunji asked Ji-Yu what he really wanted. Ji-Yu said that the pen Junho gave her was a gift from her. Eunji said that was 18 years ago. Why bring it up now? Ji-Yu said that no matter how many years passed, it had never changed for her. Eunji asked if the pen had changed her fate. Ji-Yu said that was a question to ask Junho. If Junho knew the pen was from someone else, he would be furious. In no time, the two women arrived at the garbage dump ready to fight. Eunji asked Ji-Yu if she wanted revenge. Ji-Yu said Eunji's happiness should have been hers. Eunji asked Ji-Yu back if she wasn't happy now. Ji-Yu asked Eunji if she was jealous. If she wanted it, she had to let go of her original happiness. Eunji pursued Ji-Yu if she was going to destroy her family. Ji-Yu said Eunji was now enjoying a stable family and an exciting life. Why can't she? She also said that Eunji now has Junho's love and wants to have Jinwoo's sweetness, so she had no right to be with Junho in the first place. And then she knocked Eunji straight away, leaving a shocked Eunji. The next day Eunji started picking out clothes for Junho, and kept praising Junho for being very handsome. Eunji's abnormal behavior made Junho feel very strange. After returning to the office, Hyejin scolded Ji-Yu for being crazy and told Eunji to move out immediately. Eunji, however, said that she would protect her family. In the evening, Jinwoo and Ji-Yu attended the company's couples party. The moment Ji-Yu appeared, Jinwoo was completely unnerved because Ji-Yu had won the favor of the leader's wife. She was deliberately seated next to her. The leader's wife said that men work very hard, and that from now on, wives can report on female gatherings. She then asked Ji-Yu to be the wives' general affairs officer. Because of this, Ji-Yu's status immediately improved. During the meal, Madam kept praising Ji-Yu and said that Jinwoo was a really lucky husband. Jinwoo's opinion of Ji-Yu also slowly began to change. After the meal, Ji-Yu said that Jinwoo had done well today and that there would soon be an arrangement for personnel matters, and told Jinwoo to wait a little longer. Kyungju said that there would be a second half with his wife later and asked Jinwoo to take out the trash. Jinwoo was surprised and disgusted, but Ji-Yu gave him a look and Jinwoo reluctantly nodded. Ji-Yu smiled and said thank you, but as soon as she turned around, her face changed. When Jinwoo returned home to take out the trash, he happened to meet Eunji coming home. Unexpectedly, the trash was all over the floor. He didn't even know what color garbage bag to use for the different types of waste. Seeing how hard it was for Jinwoo to throw out the trash, Eunji felt incredibly surprised. When she returned home, she saw Junho methodically sorting the garbage. Eunji told Junho to put the trash down and said that she would do these things from now on. Junho said that it didn't matter who did these things. Eunji asked Junho why he was being so good to her while doing the housework and turning in his paycheck. She asked him why he was being so good to her. Junho looked completely baffled. Then Eunji asked Junho if he still loved her. Junho quickly hugged Eunji and said he definitely did. But Eunji's heart was still uneasy. The next day, Ji-Yu received Jinwoo's dry-cleaned clothes and found a receipt for medicine purchased in Chongping inside. Chongping is the area where the campsite is located. She suspected that Jinwoo and Eunji had an affair that day. A patient in urgent need of treatment was refused admission by the hospital director because he could not pay the fees, resulting in the patient's death in the hallway. Junho angrily found the director and questioned him as to why he had refused to help, and then said that he was leaving this hospital and would never let them go. Junho thought that he had worked hard to become a doctor in the hope of helping more people, but reality had time and time again destroyed his faith. After work, he went to the supermarket to buy alcohol and unexpectedly met Ji-Yu here. Junho asked Ji-Yu if she could accompany him for a drink, and the two of them then went to a restaurant. Junho confided in Ji-Yu that he wanted to quit his job at the hospital. Ji-Yu didn't treat Junho like Eunji did after hearing him out. Instead, she asked Junho what had happened and expressed her understanding of the original intention of becoming a doctor. If Junho had made this decision, he must have had very good reasons. Even if Junho really wanted to resign, the hospital would not let him go easily. After all, Junho is a professor-level talent. After hearing what Ji-Yu said, Junho felt very comfortable. On the other side, Hyejin found Ji-Woo and told him about the incident where Ji-Woo blackmailed Eunji with the fountain pen. Then she asked Ji-Woo to help Eunji deal with Ji-Yu together. On the way home, Eunji saw Junho walking into the restaurant, just as Junho and Ji-Yu were having a good chat. Eunji's voice came from outside. Eunji didn't get angry when she found the two of them, but pretended to have a chance encounter. Ji-yu said she wanted to leave first, but Eunji asked her to stay and have a drink. Then Eunji mocked Ji-yu for being such a good drinker. Jinwoo should not know, right? Ji-yu said that couples have a lot of secrets. At first, she was still in love with someone else and got married. Eunji saw that things were not good and asked Junho to go home first to take care of the children, and said she wanted Ji-yu to continue drinking. After Junho left, Eunji asked Ji-yu if she wanted to start a fight. She said she was a woman who would not care about the consequences. Ji-yu told Eunji to stop pretending. She had long since stopped wanting to live with Jinwoo. She was not afraid at all. Eunji asked Ji-yu in surprise why she still cooked for the boss's wife, and why she is so nice to Jinwoo. Ji-yu says that Jinwoo will get into trouble this time, and she knows exactly who is responsible. She says that housewives are at home every day, but they know everything. Don't ever think that working is better than being a housewife. When she leaves, Ji-yu tells Eunji that she is going to fight with her. When Eunji gets home, she tells Junho to throw away the pen, but Junho says that the pen is still usable. The two of them have a fight over this. In the end, Eunji threw the pen down hard on the floor. Junho looked at Eunji in shock, and then picked up the pen on the floor, and said that this pen was the first gift Eunji gave him, so he especially treasures it. He asked Eunji why she treated him like this. Eunji then excitedly told him about throwing away Ji-yu's card that year, and said she regretted it now. Then she grabbed the pen and left. The more Eunji thought about it, the angrier she became, so she threw the pen in the trash. Unexpectedly, the security guard saw this. Not long after, Ji-yu recognized the pen she gave Junho when she picked up her delivery. The security guard explained that it was thrown away by the lady in Building 3. He saw that it was still usable, so he picked it up. After hearing this, Ji-yu wanted to buy the pen. Eunji, who had thrown away the pen, found Hyejin and poured out her unhappiness to her. Hyejin said she got married because she was lonely, but she ended up being even lonelier after marriage. In the end, she got divorced. If you don't have sex for a long time, it's easier to get divorced. Sex is a gift from God. The next day, Jinwoo learned that his wife and the boss's wife were going golfing. She even mocked Ji-yu for having athletic talent. But Ji-yu was thinking to herself, "You don't know anything about me." When Ji-yu played golf, even the instructor praised her for playing well. The boss's wife asked her if she had studied. Ji-yu said that when her husband made her angry, she would practice with the golf club. The boss's wife said that she was exactly the same. Whenever she thought of her husband, the golf ball would fly at least twice as far. On the other side, Eunji came to the hospital to look for Junho. She found out that her husband had not gone to work, so she called Junho's phone and learned that Junho wanted to quit his job at the hospital. Eunji told him to go back to work immediately or else don't come home in the future. Junho said that he also contributed to that home, so why can't he go back? Eunji said that if Junho doesn't go back to work then she won't go home. Junho felt helpless about Eunji's attitude. Angrily he threw his phone at the passenger seat. Just then Ji-yu called Junho. Seeing that the caller ID was Ji-yu, Junho quickly adjusted his sitting position. Ji-yu asked Junho if he could come over and pick her up and have lunch together. Junho immediately drove to find Ji-yu. As soon as they met, he praised Ji-yu for looking very pretty today. Ji-yu asked Junho if he wanted to go to the countryside, and said that she had packed handmade seaweed rice rolls, so the two went to the countryside for a picnic. Looking at the delicious food that Ji-yu had prepared, Junho sighed, saying that he hadn't eaten homemade seaweed rice rolls in a long time. He kept praising Ji-yu's cooking skills, and Ji-yu couldn't stop smiling. Then they took a walk in the garden. Ji-yu asked Junho if he had ever felt attracted to someone else after getting married. Junho said that he had always been busy working for a living. Ji-yu said that even if Junho had met someone, he wouldn't have acted on it. Junho said that apart from working for a living, he might not have met someone worth falling for, and even if he did, he couldn't let himself go. If he really fell in love, he might have to give up everything he has now, which is not an easy thing to do. Then Junho asked Ji-yu if she didn't regret it. At that time, she gave him a pen but didn't confirm whether he received it or not. Ji-yu said she didn't dare to look at Junho even once, even if she knew at that time, it probably wouldn't have changed anything. Junho said if Ji-yu had said something at that time, he didn't know what would have happened. Ji-yu cried and said that she was too young at the time and didn't dare say anything, and thought that Junho had rejected her and didn't have the courage to ask. At that time, she just hoped that Junho could be happy, and whenever her heart ached, she could only think of this. Subsequently, Ji-yu repackaged the pen and gave it to Junho again. Seeing the pen, Junho's face was full of shock. Ji-yu said that she should have given this pen to Junho herself 18 years ago, and then wished Junho a happy birthday. Junho could no longer hold back his tears and tightly embraced Ji-yu. The two looked at each other affectionately, and then they kissed passionately. On the way home, they kept holding hands. The two looked at each other. On the other side, Jinwoo, Hyejin and Eunji had just finished a meeting. Hyejin deliberately asked Jinwoo to buy them a drink. Jinwoo saw Eunji here and readily agreed. Eunji asked Hyejin what she wanted to do. Hyejin said she wanted to do something for Eunji, and that she would first destroy Ji-Yu's home, and then they went to a fancy bar. Hyejin deliberately sat next to Jinwoo. Eunji reminded Hyejin with her expression not to do this. Just then Hyejin spilled the drink on Jinwoo's pants. Hyejin saw this and quickly took a piece of paper and wiped it all over Jinwoo's leg. After returning to the residential area, Eunji and Jinwoo sat down. Jinwoo said he knew Hyejin did it on purpose. He asked Eunji if she was worried about something. Eunji then told him about her fight with Junho. Subsequently, Eunji said that because of the fight, she would spend the night at a hotel tonight. In the blink of an eye, Jinwoo and Eunji arrived at the hotel to check in. Unexpectedly, this scene was witnessed by their neighbors from the homeowners committee. Eunji and Jinwoo got into an elevator and started fighting like crazy in the elevator. After they returned to their room, they continued fighting. At that moment, Eunji's phone rang. It turned out to be her daughter calling. She asked Eunji why she and her father had not returned home. Jinwoo also received a call from June, so he also knew that Ji-Yu had not returned home. Eunji then asked Jinwoo to go home early. Just then, Jinwoo received a call from Ji-Yu. He questioned Ji-Yu why she was so late and hadn't returned home yet. Ji-Yu said she had accompanied her mistress to practice golf and had dinner together. Jinwoo lied and said he had to work overtime tonight and might not be able to return home for the night. At this time, Eunji received a call from her daughter again. She learned that both of their significant others had returned home. Eunji then proposed to have a drink with Jinwoo. The two of them just drank and chatted. Eunji told Jinwoo about Ji-Yu's drinking. Jinwoo said that he is getting to know Ji-Yu less and less, and they both wondered why the other person wanted to live with them. Eunji then told Jinwoo to hurry home. Jinwoo, however, said that he wanted to watch Eunji fall asleep, and that he might not have the chance again in the future. But as he watched, he held Eunji's hand and fell asleep. The next morning, Junho realized that Eunji had not returned home all night, and Ji-Yu was already preparing breakfast. With a smile on her face, like when she was in her first relationship, then she brought the breakfast she had prepared to Junho. Ji-Yu guessed that Eunji was not at home, so she asked to go in and help Junho set the table. Junho hesitated but agreed. Just as Ji-Yu entered, her whole face changed. Looking at the breakfast Ji-Yu had prepared, Junho was envious of this life, because it made him feel at home. At this time, Eunji was in the elevator going home. She recalled the scene of fighting with Jinwoo and scolded herself for being really crazy. Ji-Yu and Junho were eating with relish. Junho picked up a piece of pork belly and wanted to feed it to Ji-Yu. He discovered that there was a pair of murderous eyes watching them. When Junho tried to explain, Eunji said that it wasn't the first time for them. She asked the two what they meant. She told Ji-Yu to take the breakfast away. Junho tried to help Ji-Yu clear the dishes, while Ji-Yu pretended to look pitiful. Ji-Yu deliberately said as she left that Jinwoo didn't come home last night either, so that's why she brought breakfast over, and kept watching Eunji's expression. After getting the answer, Ji-Yu left with a sneer. Junho hurriedly explained that he and Ji-Yu didn't have a problem, and Eunji said that they needed to re-examine their relationship. Seeing the gift box on the table, Eunji thought it was a gift from Junho to her. When she opened it, she found it was the pen. Eunji's face instantly changed. She questioned Junho about his relationship with Ji-Yu. She said she had clearly thrown away the pen, so why was it here? Could it be that 18 years of feelings were not as strong as this pen? Junho said Eunji had indeed done something wrong. Eunji asked Junho if he felt sorry. Junho thinks Eunji has not even apologized. Eunji says if Junho had chosen Ji-Yu, he would not have reached his current position in his career. Junho heard Eunji say this and proposed divorce. When leaving the house, Junho asked Eunji if she knew yesterday was his birthday. At this time, Ji-Yu was hiding outside the door listening. When he heard Junho open the door, he quickly hid. After Junho got off the elevator, Ji-Yu gave a satisfied smile. Eunji and her husband had just been arguing about getting a divorce. As soon as they left the house, she received a text message from Jinwoo inviting her to go to the movies tonight. After they finished the meeting, Jinwoo told Eunji that he had already bought the movie tickets. Unexpectedly, this scene was seen by Hyejin, so she deliberately suggested having dinner together. Eunji said she was going to a class reunion. Jinwoo also said he had something to do, but Hyejin was not so easily fooled. Soon, Jinwoo drove to pick up Eunji. When they set off sweetly, Hyejin had long since discovered the whereabouts of the two. She was so angry she could not speak. These two guys had gone on a romantic date without her. When they arrived at the cinema, Eunji let out a surprised cry, because she and Junho had never been to such a fancy cinema. Jinwoo had even specially chosen a couple seat. He was also extremely gentle with Eunji, and bought Eunji drinks and popcorn, something Ji-Yu had never experienced. Halfway through the movie, Jinwoo's hand began to move uncontrollably towards Eunji's hand, and Eunji also sensed Jinwoo's intentions, but she didn't move it away. The moment their hands were joined together, Jinwoo smiled. It felt like discovering a new continent. When the movie ended and it was time to leave, a familiar voice called out to Eunji. Eunji questioned Haejin as to why she was following her, and Haejin said that Eunji was playing with fire, saying that Eunji had said that she didn't know any secrets about Mirai Corporation, but now she was having an affair with Sangchul, and asked if she was crazy, wanting a promotion. Eunji angrily asked her if she had finished. Haejin said that she had just begun. She said that Eunji was previously worried about the relationship between husband and wife, and now she is having an affair. The two best friends argued and got into a fight. Fortunately, Jiwoo came over and pulled them apart, but this time Eunji really did something wrong. Then Jiwoo dragged them to a restaurant. As soon as Haejin opened her mouth, she asked Eunji if she had slept. If she hadn't slept, she quickly turned back and said that if she found out this time, the next time someone else would find out. Haejin said that Eunji has not yet divorced, and even if she does, the other person also has a family. This is definitely not allowed. Eunji said that he and Junho do not get along. Jiwoo said that you both have 2 children and have been married for 18 years, so how can you suddenly not get along? Eunji said that this is just the way human relationships are, and they cannot be changed by effort. If you try hard to love someone, does that mean you will definitely fall in love? Haejin left the restaurant angrily after hearing this. At this time, Jiwoo was again borrowing money from Eunji. In the middle of the night, Jiwoo suddenly received a phone call. She rushed out in a panic. Jinwoo thought his wife had gone crazy. Jiwoo pounded on Junho's door, waking up the whole family. It turned out that Jiwoo's mother had fallen ill again. Jiwoo anxiously asked Junho to save her mother. Jinwoo kept observing them and saw Junho holding Jiwoo's hand. He thought it was just a doctor's instinct. Junho asked Jiwoo to wait a moment and take his car to the hospital, and said that he could confirm his mother's condition on the way. When Junho was changing clothes, Eunji asked him not to go, and said that there were other doctors at the hospital. Junho asked Eunji not to say such things. After all, it was a matter of life and death. While waiting for the elevator, unexpectedly, Eunji also changed clothes and followed. When they arrived downstairs, she quickly rushed into the passenger seat. Eunji didn't want to give up the seat to Jiwoo. Jiwoo had to follow behind and drive over. On the way, Junho asked Eunji if they weren't going to separate and calm down. Eunji didn't deny Junho's statement, but she did this because she was afraid that Junho would do something extreme. Junho felt very helpless towards Eunji. Before entering the operating room, Jiwoo tightly held Junho's hand and told him to definitely save his mother's life. Eunji saw this and angrily left the hospital. Jinwoo anxiously watched Eunji leave. He cared more about Eunji's safety than his mother-in-law's. Jiwoo saw this and Jinwoo sent a message to Eunji asking what had happened. Eunji said that she had told Junho that she might get along with other people. Jinwoo quickly called Eunji and said she shouldn't confess so soon. Eunji asked Jinwoo if he was scared. Jinwoo said he was thinking from a man's perspective. He was worried that Junho might be hit hard, so he said that. Eunji reminded Jinwoo that Jiwoo might also have a problem. Jinwoo said Jiwoo was an honest person and would never do such a thing. Eunji was so angry that she didn't want to continue talking and hung up the phone directly. That day, the president told Jinwoo that Park Minister was eyeing his position. He had been tampering with the last advertising case, and Jinwoo was also humiliated by Park Minister. The president asked Jinwoo out this time in the hope that he would switch sides. The next day, Park Minister asked Jinwoo if he wanted to switch sides. This time, the advertisement must be won by Eunji's company's competitor. He warns Jinwoo to be careful at work. If they lose to the president this time, they will all be finished. And Eunji's company Yonghee also found her and told her to definitely win this advertising account. If she can't win the account, it won't be as simple as canceling the promotion. When Junho returned home in the evening, he asked Eunji what she meant by saying she would do something outrageous in the morning. Eunji told Junho to stop pretending and said she saw it all at the campsite that day. So during the cooling off period, everyone can get along with other people. Junho naturally disagrees, but Eunji thinks this is a good way to find out if they really don't fit. Junho asks her if there is another man. Eunji says that Junho wants Jiwoo from across the street and she also has a man she wants. Junho is furious when he hears this. He asks Eunji if she is crazy. Jiwoo from the other side reminds Jinwoo not to be late for the parents' meeting tomorrow. Then she asked Jinwoo why he didn't come and play with her at the campsite before. Jinwoo said he had to go back right away because of a work transfer that day. Jiwoo said he thought he came with Eunji. Jinwoo asked Jiwoo why she was asking so much. Jiwoo said she saw the receipt for the clothes. Then the two just looked at each other without saying anything. Just as Jiwoo was leaving, Jinwoo asked if she had worked at Junho's hospital before she got married. Jiwoo did not deny this. Jinwoo then asked if Junho also worked there at that time. Jiwoo said there were so many doctors at the hospital that she could not remember. The next day, when they went to the parents' meeting, Junho was late because of work, and Eunji happened to meet Jinwoo, so she got into Jinwoo's car. On the way, Jinwoo asked Eunji if the woman she saw with Junho at the campsite was Jiwoo. Learning that his wife had a fight with another man, Jinwoo broke down, thinking about how he had worked so hard for the family. His heart ached. Eunji saw Jinwoo in such pain, and felt that Junho would also be heartbroken if he found out that she had gotten into a fight. But at the same time, She felt excited and asked Jinwoo if she was being a bad person. Then she kept comforting Jinwoo, saying that she understood his feelings. Then she told Jinwoo the story of Ji-Yoo and Junho back then. This made Jinwoo even more excited. He said that 18 years ago was fine, but now they had even become neighbors. She suspects that Ji-Yoo moved here on purpose. The two then continue to the parent-teacher meeting. While waiting at the traffic lights, Eun-ji is surprised to discover Junho and Ji-Yoo, so when they arrive at the school gate, Eun-ji asks Jinwoo to let her get out of the car first. The two men talk about Ji-Yoo's mother's condition in the school car park. Jinwoo deliberately says that Ji-Yoo used to be a nurse and will take good care of her mother. He asked Junho if he didn't remember Ji-Yoo working at that hospital. Junho was stunned when he heard this. Jinwoo also said that Ji-Yoo often delivered food to Junho. It turns out that they have this kind of fate. Eun-ji also met Ji-Yoo. She said that Ji-Yoo came with Junho, right? She got off the car outside so that no one else would see them. Ji-Yoo said, Eun-ji, didn't you do the same thing? Don't be so smug and think no one knows. Eun-ji said they met by chance near the school, but Ji-Yoo said she saw them in the park. They're so thick-skinned as to admit it themselves. When Ji-Yoo was about to leave, Eun-ji said Jinwoo had found out about her relationship with Junho because she had told her husband she would get along with other people, but Ji-Yoo was going to hide. Seeing the two women's attitude was like a formal declaration of war. The parents' meeting soon came to an end. One parent suggested that everyone go and relax. The karaoke bar was pretty deserted, so someone suggested that Eun-ji sing a song. Eun-ji sang and danced, having a great time. Junho, who had never seen Eun-ji like this, swallowed hard. Eun-ji had just come out of the bathroom when Junho asked her to go home early. Eun-ji said it was still early, but Junho doesn't want Eun-ji to behave like this. She thinks that Eun-ji's behavior is like a hostess. Eun-ji is very angry when she hears this, and says that this is how she earns her money. What's wrong? When the two were about to start a big fight, Jinwoo suddenly appeared. He thinks that Junho's words are too much. Junho said that this is between husband and wife and no outsiders are needed to interfere. Jinwoo, however, said that he knows Eun-ji's social life better than Junho. Junho widened his eyes and asked Jinwoo what he meant. Jinwoo said that Eun-ji had endured many things that women could not stand while working outside. Eun-ji asked them to stop talking. Junho questioned what she had actually done outside. Then Junho asked Jinwoo out. It seemed that he wanted to solve the problem in a manly way. Unbeknownst to them, the two of them had been fighting for 2 hours. Their faces were full of each other's saliva. Their throats were dry, but they just didn't dare to strike. When the two heard their wives' voices, they began to change their moves. Neither one wanted to admit defeat. Although their moves were powerful, neither one could hit the other. Eun-ji also felt amazing. In the end, the two men entered wrestling mode. After a few rounds, the two fell heavily to the ground. While Ji-Yoo was helping Jinwoo heal his wounds, Jinwoo asked Ji-Yoo if she really didn't know Junho. Ji-Yoo said she didn't remember. Jinwoo said that his mother's condition was improving, so they moved to a nearby hospital, so that Ji-Yoo could take better care of her. Meanwhile, Eun-ji was also helping Junho heal his wounds. Junho asked Eun-ji if Jinwoo was the man. Eun-ji firmly denied that it was Jinwoo. After yesterday's boxing competition, Jinwoo and Junho both began to observe their wives. That night, Hyejin asked Ji-Yoo out. She blamed Ji-Yoo for Eun-ji's bad mood since she showed up. Ji-Yoo said Eun-ji brought it on herself. Hyejin said that Eun-ji did nothing wrong 20 years ago, and that Ji-Yoo can't even compare to Eun-ji. Just as Hyejin was about to get physical, Ji-Yoo stopped her. The next day, Park Minister took Jinwoo to meet Eun-ji's representative from a rival company. The representative hoped that Park Minister could help them win the advertising project. Then he talked about Eun-ji from the rival company. Park Minister said that Eun-ji was a vixen. She had sabotaged the last contract. The representative said that Eun-ji had recently been promoted. He also said that Eun-ji seemed to have a relationship with the company president's son. Jinwoo listened and dared not speak out. In the end, the representative gave Jinwoo a gift. Jinwoo wanted to refuse, but due to the pressure from Park Minister, he had no choice but to accept it obediently. On the way, he opened it and checked it. Sure enough, it was a bag of money. After returning home, Jinwoo asked Ji-Yoo to see Mrs. Park more often recently. He also asked Ji-Yoo if he had transferred his mother to a hospital. Ji-Yoo saw his attitude was so bad, so she decided to get even. Before long, Jinwoo let out a scream from the heat. Jinwoo sent a message to Eun-ji saying that the company bidding this time was not simple. He knew that Eun-ji would be fired if she failed. At this time, Jinwoo was in a dilemma. Just then, Eun-ji received a call from Park Minister. He asked Eun-ji to go to the cabaret immediately for work reasons. Eun-ji had no choice but to take a taxi there immediately. Park Minister immediately had someone take a photo of Eun-ji. Unexpectedly, while they were drinking a toast, the woman sitting across from them took a photo of Eun-ji. For the sake of her job, Eun-ji could only endure it. Then Park Minister continued to pressure Eun-ji to sing. Eun-ji could not stand it anymore and said that in the future, They could discuss work-related matters at the company. Soon after, Jinwoo received a text message from Park Minister. Inside was a photo of Eunji that had just been taken secretly. Park Minister's goal was to drive a wedge between the two of them, so that the project would not fail again. Jinwoo immediately found Eunji and said that he was very disappointed. That Eunji had let someone else grope her thigh despite all he had done for her. Eunji was very angry when she heard this. Jinwoo then asked her if she had a relationship with the son of the company president. Eunji did not hesitate to slap him. However, Jinwoo was not angry and instead embraced Eunji. The matron on the side was amazed to see this scene. Junho was even more heartbroken and unable to breathe when he saw this. That night, he began to spend the night in the study. He couldn't believe what he had seen. The next day, when he left for work, Jinwoo told Junho that he wanted to transfer his mother-in-law to another hospital. He asked Junho to hurry up. Junho said that he couldn't do it yet. The two then had a fight. Jinwoo said that Junho was doing it on purpose. Junho said that he was just using the advertisement as an excuse. Jinwoo instantly understood what Junho meant. He thinks Junho already knows about his relationship with Eunji. That day, Park Minister, as the advertiser, deliberately made a proposal for Eunji, with a lot of confusing requirements. After the managing director left, Jinwoo sent a message to Eunji flirting. They just kept exchanging messages like this. Seo Yun, who had long known that they had a problem, was also observing the two of them. Haejin knew and quickly reminded Eunji to be careful. After the meeting, the two went out on a date. Jinwoo took Eunji's hands and gently helped her blow the steam. Then he asked Eunji if she was cold. These two middle-aged people have found the feeling of their first love. Jinwoo said he was unwilling to put up with Park Minister anymore and that he had to think of a way. In the end, he said that Junho seemed to know about their relationship. Eunji asked Jinwoo what to do now. Jinwoo told her not to worry, saying that he would always be there for her. Eunji said she was sorry and picked up her bag before hurrying away from the scene. She immediately found Haejin and said that her heart was hurting. Eunji felt so sorry for Junho. She asked Haejin what she should do now. Haejin said that she had said before that not just anyone could get a divorce. Eunji kept asking Haejin what to do now, saying that she was really scared. Haejin told Eunji to end her relationship with Jinwoo immediately, but Eunji thought that Jinwoo was a good person. Haejin said that just being a good person doesn't make someone your heartbeat. She asked Eunji if she wanted to live with Jinwoo and be willing to abandon Junho and the children. Eunji said she didn't have that kind of confidence. Haejin told Eunji to hurry up and find Junho to apologize. On the other side, Jinwoo called to check Ji-Yu's whereabouts. Ji-Yu said she was going to the hospital to see her mother. Jinwoo said in a commanding tone that she was not allowed to go. Ji-Yu did not choose to listen to him this time. Jinwoo was so angry that he almost died on the spot. Then he decided to go to the hospital as well. Ji-Yu arrived at the hospital. Junho asked her if she knew about Eunji and Jinwoo, and blamed Ji-Yu for not telling him. Ji-Yu said she was afraid Junho's heart would waver, because she felt that as long as Eunji and Jinwoo were together, then she would also have a chance. On the other side, Eunji and Junho also arrived at the hospital at the same time. They both wanted to find their other halves. Eunji dialed Jinwoo's phone and said that they would appear here, proving that there was someone they could not let go of in their hearts, saying that they can't go on like this anymore, even if they are divorced. They can't be together with Jinwoo. Jinwoo is very unwilling and asks Eunji to find a place to talk again. At the same time, Ji-Yu asked Junho if she could be with him. Junho refused her and kept saying sorry. He said he really couldn't do it. Ji-Yu said she had no way back. What should she do? Then she tightly hugged Junho. Just then, Eunji and Jinwoo also appeared. Jinwoo questioned Ji-Yu, asking if she came to the hospital often just to see Junho. Ji-Yu retorted, asking if Jinwoo thought he was blind and knew nothing. When she tried to leave, Jinwoo grabbed her. Jinwoo asked if she and Junho had slept together. Ji-Yu retorted, asking if Jinwoo had gone to a hotel with Eunji. Jun learned from her classmates about her father and Eunji, which made her very sad and upset. That night, Jinwoo sent Eunji a message, saying that he had made up his mind to be with Eunji, and hoped that Eunji would get through this with him. Then he asked Eunji to wait for him at the company. Jinwoo wanted to have a good chat with Eunji. When Eunji returned to the bottom of the company, she found Junho waiting for her. Junho hoped that the two of them could calm down and find a place to talk. On the other side, Ji-Yu had prepared dinner as usual. At that moment, June suddenly returned home. Ji-Yu asked her why she was so late. June, however, looked at the dinner on the table. Ji-Yu saw that her daughter was not speaking and asked her what was wrong. June asked her mother why she was doing this. Why should she prepare dinner for her father when he is having an affair? Ji-Yu was very surprised to hear this. June asked her mother why she was living like this. Then she ran back to her room sadly and locked the door. Ji-Yu chased after her and tried to comfort her. June said it wasn't what she thought. On the other side, Junho and Eunji were worried that being at home would affect the children, so they came to the Love Hotel. Seeing Junho's hesitant appearance, Eunji asked if he wanted to know if she had a fight with Jinwoo. Junho said he didn't want to talk about it. Eunji scolded Junho for doing this every time. Junho thought he was doing this to accommodate Eunji, otherwise they would have divorced long ago. Eunji thinks she has tried very hard. Not only did she take the initiative to book the hotel, she also wore a special costume with a thick face, while Junho never knows how to be gentle and still doesn't treat her as a woman. Eunji then said that she can stop having sex. Even if they never fight again, they can still live happily. Junho asked Eunji if it is true that she has never slept with Jinwoo. Eunji said that if she wanted to sleep, she would have done so a long time ago. Then the two of them talked about the difficulties of being married. They understand that they have been accompanied by each other all the way. Both of them sincerely admit that they have done wrong. Junho apologizes for not being able to keep the marriage vows, and Eunji also feels sorry for not being able to be a good wife and mother. Thinking that they are about to get a divorce, both of them feel sorry for their children. Crying, the two of them hugged again. Junho thanked Eunji for what she has done for him over the years, and Eunji believes that if it weren't for her, Junho would have become even better. Junho asked Eunji if she would kiss him again. Unexpectedly, as soon as they kissed, Junho's hamster reacted. However, Eunji's reaction was even greater. Then the two rushed to the bed and started fighting. On the other side, Jinwoo was still waiting under Eunji's company. A few hours later, he sent a message to Eunji saying that he would go home first. When Jinwoo returned home, he ignored Ji-Yu's presence and went straight to the study, and then yelled at Ji-Yu to come in. He said he would immediately transfer his mother to another hospital tomorrow, but Ji-Yu did not agree to transfer his mother to another hospital. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo said that if he did not agree to the transfer, he would not pay the medical fees. Ji-Yu asked if he was threatening her with money. Jinwoo said that Ji-Yu was using his mother to date Junho. Junho, as a doctor, dared to seduce the guardian of his patient, and he must file a complaint against Junho's behavior. Ji-Yu immediately agreed to transfer her mother to another hospital when she heard this. She asked Jinwoo not to complain against Junho. Jinwoo revealed his ugly face after hearing this. He said that Ji-Yu kept saying that she did it for her mother, but in fact it was all for Junho. Ji-Yu said, "You can go out and find Eunji, so why can't I find Junho?" Jinwoo said that Ji-Yu had been hiding her marriage from him from the beginning, and always kept Junho in mind. He never even looked at her, and when he moved here, he knew everything. Jinwoo then ordered Ji-Yu to get him a glass of water. So Ji-Yu took the glass and went to the bathroom. She filled the glass with toilet water and added a pack of laxatives. After mixing it well, Ji-Yu handed the water to Jinwoo. Seeing Jinwoo drink it, Ji-Yu felt extremely happy. In the middle of the night, Jinwoo kept going back and forth to the bathroom. Ji-Yu, who had been pretending to sleep, was overjoyed. The next morning, when Ji-Yu was sending Jinwoo off to work, she ran into Eunji and saw them laughing and joking as they returned home. Ji-Yu and Jinwoo both looked at each other, as if to ask what was going on, and Eunji and Junho also noticed them. Before the four of them passed each other without saying hello. When they returned home, Junho and Eunji found the children making breakfast. The family's happy atmosphere returned. On the other side of the street, Jinwoo forced his mother-in-law to go to another hospital. Ji-Yu cried and hoped to hear Junho's opinion. The doctor said that the discharge procedures had already been completed. There was nothing they could do now. Ji-Yu quickly called Junho. At this time, Junho was walking Eunji to work. Not wanting to affect their relationship again, he chose not to answer. After Eunji arrives at the office, Junho receives another call from Ji-Yu. While being transferred, Ji-Yu's mother's condition deteriorates again. The doctor quickly turns around and goes back to the hospital. When Junho arrives at the hospital, it's too late. Junho finds Jinwoo and says that his actions are indirect homicide. Jinwoo, however, says that he thought it would be fine. He thought that Junho wanted to see Ji-Yu, so he disagreed with the transfer. Jinwoo then said that his mother died young and he had always taken care of his mother-in-law as if she were his own mother. He believes that his mother-in-law's death is entirely Junho's responsibility, because every time Ji-Yu said she was going to the hospital to see her mother, he would wonder if Ji-Yu was doing it to meet Junho. When the time came for the memorial service, Eunji had originally planned not to show up, but she wanted to completely resolve the problems between the four of them, so she came to pay her respects to Ji-Yu's mother. Then she apologized to Ji-Yu, saying it was all her fault, but Ji-Yu didn't say a word. The next day, Eunji received a message from Jinwoo, hoping they could talk face to face, but Eunji didn't reply to Jinwoo. Ji-Yu met Junho in the elevator. She asked Junho why he didn't answer the phone that day. If he had answered, she wondered if her mother would still be alive. Junho didn't dare answer her. Ji-Yu asked him if Eunji was there. Junho still didn't dare to speak. That day, Eunji and the others were shooting an advertisement. Hyejin reminded Jinwoo that it was time to move. She didn't want the two families to continue to be hurt. Suddenly, Park Minister unexpectedly appeared here. His purpose for coming here was simple: to sabotage Eunji's film. so he kept making unreasonable demands. In the end, Eun-ji really couldn't stand it anymore. She kicked Park Minister straight in the face. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Then the two of them started fighting. Jin-woo walked up and punched Park Minister. Eun-ji ended the filming. When she was leaving, Hae-jin told Eun-ji not to get entangled with Jin-woo again because of this incident. She must keep their distance. The next day, Junho went to pay his respects to Ji-Yu's mother and discovered that Ji-Yu had also come here, so he quickly hid. At this time, Ji-Yu was apologizing to her mother, saying that she had always blamed her mother for the misfortunes of her marriage, and that it was her own lack of courage in grasping Junho that had led to the situation today, and all of this was heard by Junho's heart. In the evening, Eun-ji returned downstairs and found Jin-woo waiting for the elevator, so she quickly left the scene, but Jin-woo followed and stopped Eun-ji. Eun-ji thanked Jin-woo for helping her during the day. Jin-woo said he didn't do it for her, but because he couldn't stand that kind of person. Then he said he would move recently so Eun-ji wouldn't have any psychological burden. But Jin-woo didn't expect Eun-ji to change her mind so quickly. This made him a bit difficult to accept. Because Eun-ji kicked Park Minister, it brought a bad image to the company. The company decided to investigate the matter. Before the results come out, Jin-woo has to wait for a transfer. Park Minister was removed from his position and Yeon-hee was transferred to another department. On the other side, Eun-ji also encountered a waiting transfer. Yeon-hee told her not to go to work anymore. She will continue to be paid until she finds a new job. Eun-ji said that she started her internship here when she was 22 years old. This year, she has worked here for exactly 20 years. No one asked why she had hit someone. This made Eun-ji feel very aggrieved. Thinking about the 20 years she had put in here, tears just kept coming. The next day, Eun-ji, who had not gone to work, went to the supermarket and was struggling to decide what to eat when she saw Ji-Yu. She then had a bold idea. Eun-ji kept following Ji-Yu and bought whatever she saw. Looking at these good quality, low-priced ingredients, Eun-ji praised Ji-Yu for being a good shopper. But as she kept buying, Eun-ji lost track of her. Just then, Ji-Yu appeared by her side. Ji-Yu looked at Eun-ji and smiled meaningfully as she bought the exact same thing as herself. At dinner that night, Jin-woo told Ji-Yu to get ready to move. Ji-Yu told him that it would be difficult to move because a murder had occurred in the house before, so it would be difficult to sell here. Jin-woo was so angry that he pounded on the table, blaming Ji-Yu for not saying anything in the first place. Ji-Yu said that Jin-woo was happy to think that it was cheap, so he didn't think there was a need to say anything. This made Jin-woo so angry that he didn't even want to eat. On the other side, Eun-ji told Junho that he had been fired from his company and would be a housewife for a while. Junho said that he would just work harder. When the two of them hugged, the image of Eun-ji and Jin-woo hugging flashed through Junho's mind, and Jin-woo also remembered the image of Ji-Yu and Junho hugging. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. So he went into the room and found Ji-Yu and demanded that she give him her phone. Ji-Yu refused his request, and Jin-woo reached out to grab it. As a result, he was bitten by Ji-Yu. Out of anger, Jin-woo slapped her directly. The two's actions were seen by their daughter, who was standing nearby. Jin-woo said that Ji-Yu had planned to move here beforehand, and that there was no love in their marriage at all. Ji-Yu has been using him to get close to Junho. Ji-Yu said that if that was the case, it would be a good thing for Jin-woo, and then asked Jin-woo if he felt abandoned, which made him want to move even more, which made Jin-woo furious. Ji-Yu sighed that the human heart is really amazing. At first, she wondered how she could possibly like a man like Jin-woo. If she really had to be his wife, she thought she would probably pass out. Then she said that after all, they had been husband and wife, so they would still have feelings for each other. But today, the only feelings she had left were extinguished by Jin-woo's slap. After listening to this, Jin-woo sighed, exclaiming that people like Ji-Yu were really terrifying. Ji-Yu said that it was precisely because of this that she had been able to spend so many years with someone she didn't like. That day, Eun-ji was eating out when she ran into Jin-woo. Jin-woo, who had lost his job, kept contacting his friends, asking them to introduce him to a job. He made phone call after phone call. While Eun-ji watched him, Jin-woo soon noticed Eun-ji. Eun-ji then gave him a polite smile. The two then sat down. Jin-woo told Eun-ji not to worry, saying it was really good to see Eun-ji and Junho reconciled. Eun-ji didn't respond to him after hearing this. Jin-woo said that he just wanted to live a good life, and that he couldn't think too much right now. Eun-ji tried to say sorry but Jin-woo stopped her, because it would make him look even more miserable. Just then, Jin-woo received a phone call and left. In the evening, he sneaked back to the company and found the confidential documents, and then handed the information to the vice president. Unexpectedly, the vice president promoted him to Yeon-hee on the spot. This made Jin-woo extremely happy. He went home roaring with excitement. After returning home, Jin-woo told Ji-Yu not to answer Mrs. Park's phone calls in the future. He also said that he forgave Ji-Yu because something good had happened. Ji-Yu felt very upset after hearing this. On the other side, Eun-ji realized that it had been a long time since she had missed her period. She quickly called Hae-jin and said that she seemed to be pregnant. Hae-jin said that she didn't need to be so surprised. Meanwhile, Junho met his neighbor Min-woo when he returned downstairs. Min-woo said that as a man, there were some things he had to tell him, so he told him about Eun-ji and Jin-woo going to a hotel room. After hearing what Min-woo said, Junho was completely dumbfounded. Then he received a text message from Eunji, asking him to buy some rice soup and come home because she thought she was pregnant. Junho returned home without saying a word, and his whole body seemed to have lost its soul. Eunji kept asking him what had happened. Junho then began to question Eunji about whose baby it was. Eunji didn't understand at first. Junho then told Eunji about the time she had slept with Jinwoo in a hotel room. Eunji immediately slapped him after hearing this. Junho said that this scar could never be erased. In the end, the two of them had a quarrel and parted on bad terms. The next day, Ji-yu bought a poisonous fish and made a fish soup for Jinwoo. When Jinwoo was about to drink it, Ji-yu stared at him. At the moment he took a sip, Jinwoo suddenly stopped and asked Ji-yu why she wasn't drinking it. Ji-yu said it was because there was very little of it, so Jinwoo was about to give her half of his. Ji-yu saw this and quickly knocked the fish soup over. Jinwoo questioned her if the fish soup was poisonous. Ji-yu simply picked up the fish and put it in her mouth. On the other side, Hae-jin came to Eunji's house to comfort her. When she was leaving, she unexpectedly met Ji-yu again. Hae-jin quickly protected her chest with her hands. Then she deliberately told Ji-yu that Eunji was pregnant. Ji-yu's eyes widened after hearing this. Hae-jin said that from a woman's perspective, Ji-yu was indeed pitiful, but she could only support her friends. Ji-yu was shocked and speechless. The next day, Jinwoo learned that Ji-yu had taken Mrs. Park's call and was very angry. Ji-yu said that no matter what, Mrs. Park had helped them. She believed that the reason Jinwoo had a bad relationship with Minister Park was entirely because of Eunji. Ji-yu said that she would go see Mrs. Park tomorrow. Then she also told her about Eunji's pregnancy. Jinwoo listened with a face of disbelief, thinking that he had made up his mind to divorce and be with Eunji. But she had unexpectedly become pregnant, which made Jinwoo so angry that he didn't know what to do. The next day, Ji-yu and Mrs. Park met. Mrs. Park was very grateful that she had come out to meet her. Ji-yu said that Mrs. Park had helped her, and for the first time in her life, she felt warmth and stability. Then Ji-yu asked Mrs. Park what she could do for her. Mrs. Park said that this might not be good for Jinwoo. Eunji went to the hospital to check on her pregnancy, but the doctor told her that she was not pregnant. Eunji couldn't believe that she was in her early 40s and had no more menstruation. Just as she was leaving the hospital, she was met by Ji Aeun, looking at Eunji's lonely back. Ji Aeun seemed to understand something. When she returned home that night, Ji Aeun happened to meet Ji-yu, and then she told her about what she had seen Eunji doing today. She guessed that Eunji must have had an abortion at the hospital today, and said that if it were her husband's child, she would definitely not have an abortion. This made Ji-yu feel very surprised. She began to suspect that it might be Jinwoo's child. The next day, Eunji's company Younghee visited Jinwoo. Although he was obviously free, he deliberately made the other person wait for 5 minutes. After Younghee congratulated Jinwoo, they talked about work matters. Jinwoo suddenly proposed that Eunji be in charge of their future cooperation. Younghee was suddenly asked a question she didn't know how to answer, but Jinwoo, as the client, kept pressuring him. Younghee had no choice but to say that he would reinstate Eunji as soon as possible. Jinwoo, who had achieved his goal, gave a satisfied smile. On the other side, Eunji began looking for work everywhere, but failed for various reasons. However, he soon received a phone call from Younghee. Younghee asked Eunji when she could start work. Eunji was surprised and delighted at first, but when she heard that Jinwoo had helped her get her job back, Eunji immediately refused Younghee and told him not to contact her about it again. On the other side, Ji-yu opened Jinwoo's computer and began trying different passwords, as if she was preparing to steal important information. Meanwhile, Jinwoo also returned home. While waiting for the elevator, he happened to meet Eunji, who had returned. Jinwoo thought Eunji would be very grateful to him, but Eunji said she would not return to work. Jinwoo asked Eunji if it was because she was pregnant. Eunji was surprised that he knew, and Jinwoo thought Eunji was being cruel to him. Ji-yu, who didn't know anything about computers, finally found the information she needed. She inserted the USB stick with trembling hands. Jinwoo asked Eunji if she knew that he was very sad right now, and said that he was determined to be with Eunji, even if he has to bear a lot of things. He doesn't mind. Unexpectedly, Eunji treats him this way. Eunji expresses her understanding of Jinwoo's feelings, and says that she does feel sorry for him, but she is still Junho's wife, and hopes that Jinwoo can understand her. Jinwoo tells Eunji that she must go to work. However, Eunji refuses him again. Jinwoo believes that Eunji's decision is to tease him. Ji-yu panicked when she heard Jinwoo close the door and quickly shut down her computer, before quickly tidying up her desk. Jinwoo saw Ji-yu running out of the study and asked her what she was doing in there. Ji-yu lied and said she was helping him sort his underwear. Jinwoo called her into the study and questioned her about who had moved the computer. Ji-yu said she had accidentally touched it while cleaning the desk. Jinwoo said she was not allowed to touch anything on his desk in the future. Then he asked Ji-yu to cook some food for him tomorrow, because he wanted to give it to the vice president's wife. On the other side, Junho bought the mandarin oranges that Eunji loved when she was pregnant, because he wanted to make up with Eunji, but Eunji didn't want to talk to him, and urged Junho to hurry up with the paperwork. Eunji said that the longer this matter dragged on, the worse it would be for the children. Junho's heart was filled with guilt. In the middle of the night, he couldn't figure out why he was sleeping in the study, so he crept up to Eunji's bed. Junho quickly launched into manly action. Eunji, who had been awakened from her dream, asked what he was doing. Junho kept apologizing to her. When it looked like Junho was about to succeed, Eunji gave his hamster a mighty kick. That kick was definitely more effective than ice water. At this point, Junho was in too much pain to argue. Eunji said she no longer needed love, and that not everything could be solved with ham. After his failed plan, Junho had no choice but to sneak back to the study and go to bed. Unexpectedly, he dreamed of Ji-yu, who in his dream was his wife, preparing delicious food every morning. Junho couldn't believe it was real. He asked Ji-yu if she ate so much in the morning. Ji-yu asked him back, "Isn't this what you want your married life to be like?" Then he grabbed the fatty pork on the table and stuffed it into Junho's mouth. In his sleep, Junho kept saying that he didn't want to eat anymore. On the other side, Eunji also dreamed that she was married to Jinwoo. Jinwoo was lecturing her to get up quickly and cook. Eunji felt very strange. Then Jinwoo asked her why she wasn't going to work. He said that Eunji didn't do housework and didn't go to work. What exactly did that mean? Then he told Eunji to get up quickly and make bean sprout rice soup. Eunji said she couldn't make it at home. Jinwoo scolded her for being useless because she couldn't even make this soup. Ji-yu was also dreaming on the other side. She dreamed that Junho made breakfast for her in the morning. Ji-yu wore a happy smile. When the feelings were deep, she even hugged Junho tightly, and said that this could make her feel very happy. What she never expected was that even Jinwoo had a dream. He dreamed that Eunji was wearing sexy pajamas, and Jinwoo revealed a satisfied smile in his sleep. The next day, Jinwoo met with Yoonghee and Haejin, and said that he wanted to terminate their cooperation. Haejin felt that Jinwoo was being too emotional, but Jinwoo didn't care what he said. Haejin asked Yoonghee to leave first, and then she asked Jinwoo if that was really necessary. Jinwoo said that if he didn't want problems at the company, he had to find a way to get Eunji to come back to work. Haejin said that he was really despicable. Jinwoo thought that Eunji had played him first. Soon, Haejin and Yoonghee arrived at Eunji's house. They hoped that she would come back to work at the company. Eunji thought about living after the divorce and agreed. After Yoonghee left, Haejin asked her if she really wanted a divorce. Eunji said she had had enough of Junho. On the other side, Ji-yu handed the USB drive to Mrs. Park. Mrs. Park confessed to Ji-yu that she had already separated from her husband. The condition for helping him this time was for him to divorce her. Before, because the children had just got married, they did not go to the divorce office to get a divorce certificate. Park Minister hurt her heart when she was young. There were always different women around him. He drank every night and didn't go home until late. He also hit and kicked her from time to time. At that time, I wanted to kill him, but I finally held back. Up to now, Park Minister has not changed. Mrs. Park said that it is just that she doesn't want to take care of him anymore. Then she asked Ji-yu if they would work together. Ji-yu's cooking is great and she has good interpersonal skills. If Ji-yu is willing to open a store, Mrs. Park will be responsible for investment and business. Jin was very moved when he heard this. Mrs. Park said that they will do a good job and surprise those smelly men. Mrs. Park shook Ji-yu's hand and said she also felt like Ji-yu was like a younger sister, and they felt very close. Ji-yu gave a heartfelt smile after hearing what Mrs. Park said. Jinwoo's daughter has always had a crush on Taewon, but Taewon is dating Eunji's daughter Gina. When Jun discovered her father's relationship with Eunji, she began to hate Gina. That day, Gina was criticized by her teacher for not doing her homework. When class was over, Taewon was comforting Gina, who was crying. Unexpectedly, this scene was seen by a classmate. She quickly asked Jun to look over there together. Because of the angle, they both thought that Taewon and Gina were kissing, so the classmate took a picture of them with her phone. At this time, Jun hated Gina even more. Then she posted a picture of the two of them on the school network. The photo quickly spread throughout the school, and her classmates began to isolate her. Some even blatantly bullied her. So Gina confronted Jun. Gina, who had suffered an injustice, burst into tears as soon as she got home. This scared Eunji. Eunji immediately called the school and asked for a meeting with the parents of the students involved. Then she told Gina not to worry. On the other side, Ji-yu soon received a notice from the school. Jinwoo thought that Jun was good at her studies and so well behaved that she could never do something like isolating a classmate, and then blamed Ji-yu for not taking good care of her daughter at home, causing her daughter to encounter such a thing. Ji-yu said that Jun knew about Jinwoo and Eunji's relationship. This shocked Jinwoo. Then Ji-yu told Jinwoo where Jun met him and Eunji. She said that Jun had isolated Eunji's daughter this time. Ji-yu said that Jun would not let Gina go. Jinwoo was shocked when he heard this. Early the next morning, the two women began to put on their battle clothes, because they both knew who they were facing today. After the parents of the 4 students had all sat down, the meeting officially began. Eunji hoped that the students involved would all be punished, and also said that the other party's actions were malicious. Ji-yu, however, believed that they were just kids and that's why they did it, and also said that dating at school was inherently wrong. Taewon's mother was worried that her son would be punished, and said that this was not the ancient times. and having friends of the opposite sex was a normal thing. Ji-yu said that once the bottom line was crossed, it would affect the learning of the students. The mother of another student was also worried that her daughter would be punished, so she chose to stand on the same side as Ji-yu. These parents all hoped that their children would be spared punishment. They completely ignored the teacher. In the end, the parents almost got into a fight. Fortunately, the principal arrived in time. Otherwise, at least 4 ambulances would have been needed to resolve the problem. Despite the principal's efforts to mediate, Eun-ji insisted that Jin-woo's daughter be punished no matter what. Ji-yu let out a terrifying glare. When Jin-woo and the others returned home, they were scolded again by Ji-yu for not taking care of her daughter and going out with Junho. She asked if she had seen Junho's true colors. On the other side, Junho returned home and began apologizing to Eun-ji for not taking care of her daughter. Eun-ji smiled and said that he looked a bit like a husband in that way. Junho squatted down and apologized again, saying that he would become a better person for the sake of the child, and then looking at Eun-ji's stomach and kept saying that daddy knows he's wrong and knows that it's a fake pregnancy. Eun-ji didn't know how to explain for a while. Jin-woo couldn't get Eun-ji and started to take revenge. At work, constantly picking on Eun-ji, making them redo the proposal again and again, and also setting the meeting time for the early morning of the weekend, which made Eun-ji and Hae-jin angry to death. Unexpectedly, he was so emotional about his work. When they came out of the bathroom, they happened to meet Jin-woo. Jin-woo said that Eun-ji was ungrateful. He also asked Eun-ji if she didn't feel that he had helped her a lot. Eun-ji asked him if he needed to be formally thanked. Jin-woo, however, picked up the park minister and said that Eun-ji was a woman who knew how to use her body to get things done. Upon hearing this, Eun-ji was almost outraged. Jin-woo said that she almost ruined her life for Eun-ji, and that she was a fool for risking her life for such a woman. Eun-ji never imagined that Jin-woo would say such things. That night, Mrs. Park called Ji-yu and said that the data on the USB drive was useless because it had been set to be uncopyable. Mrs. Park is now very worried about Ji-yu because Jin-woo also set a condition that if anyone tries to copy the file, a trace will be left on the computer. This makes Ji-yu very nervous because Jin-woo requested a meeting on Sunday. Eun-ji got up early in the morning to make breakfast. She found her daughter up too. Gina said she was going back to school tomorrow. This came as a big surprise to Eun-ji. Gina said she hadn't done anything wrong, so she wouldn't care what people said. She said at first she was very sad and upset, but she still had her parents and younger brother. At this moment Eun-ji felt that her children had all grown up. She hugged the 2 children tightly. Junho saw this scene and once again felt the warmth of family. Eun-ji and the others had arrived at Jin-woo's company and had been waiting for more than an hour, but Jin-woo did not appear. Then a staff member came and said that Jin-woo had cancelled today's meeting, which made everyone feel speechless. Eun-ji knew that Jin-woo was deliberately playing with her, and at home Jin-woo had just got up. As soon as he walked out of the living room, he ordered Ji-yu to prepare some food. Then he told Ji-yu to deliver some side dishes to the vice president's house. Ji-yu had no choice but to obey. Jin-woo said that if things continued like this, he would sooner or later become the vice president, and Ji-yu would become the vice president's wife. Jin-woo then asked the children if they had touched his computer. Ji-yu became nervous at this news. In the evening, when Junho was throwing the trash, he met Ji-yu in the elevator. Ji-yu said that Junho was really despicable, and that he felt nothing when he heard others. Junho began to apologize to her over and over again. Ji-yu said that he didn't feel any remorse at all. Then she left with hatred in her eyes. In the early morning, Eun-ji decided to do something big. She sneaked up to Jin-woo's car and drove a steel needle into the tire. Listening to the sound of the tire deflating, Eun-ji felt very happy. Just as she got up, she saw a familiar figure. Junho and Jin-woo went to work in the morning and found that their tires were all flat. Prompted by the 2 women, they realized that it was the other party's doing. The 2 men suddenly felt speechless. The next day, Jin-woo and Eun-ji's team members met again. They belittled Eun-ji's project to worthless. Then they told Eun-ji to continue redoing it. Eun-ji felt that this was not going to work. She stopped Jin-woo to have a private chat with him, but he refused. Jin-woo saw Eun-ji's colleagues deliberately raising their voices. He told Eun-ji not to think about taking shortcuts. Think about how to work properly. This made Eun-ji very embarrassed. On the other side, Ji-yu suddenly appeared in Junho's office. This startled Junho. Ji-yu said she was hurt to see Junho's reaction. She said that Junho used to smile when he saw her, but now he's changed. Junho quickly apologized. Ji-yu said she hated hearing those words. She said she had turned someone's life upside down. Can she just say sorry and make it all better? Junho was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. Ji-yu then said that she had come because her friend's mother wasn't feeling well. She heard that Junho was a good doctor. Junho said he would definitely pay special attention to her. Ji-yu said that the lady asked her to take care of her, so she would be coming to the hospital a lot from now on. Junho instantly became agitated. Ji-yu left the hospital with a strange smile on her face. On the other side, the vice president told Jin-woo that the park minister's side had started an investigation. His personal emails had been hacked. He then asked Jin-woo if any of his data had been stolen. Jin-woo said he would go and check. The vice president said that there were still people from park minister inside. and asked Jin Woo to be careful. Jin Woo immediately went home from work early and started checking the status of confidential documents. He found that the information had really been copied. Jin Woo's expression revealed surprise. He recalled Ji Yu running out of the study that day. He knew that Ji Yu must have done it. On the other side, Ji Yu had a terrible thought when she got home and went downstairs. She went over to Eunji's car and kicked the rearview mirror. As she opened the door and entered the house, she was still relishing the thrill of the kick. Suddenly, Ji Yu saw Jin Woo's leather shoes and felt scared. She thought to herself, why did this man come home so early today? At that moment, Jin Woo happened to walk out of the study. Ji Yu asked him why he was home so early. Jin Woo asked her if she was scared. Then he asked her if she was usually not home at this time. Ji Yu said that she would go out sometimes, and Jin Woo asked where she had gone today. Ji Yu said that Mrs. Park's mother was not feeling well, so she went to the hospital to help take care of her. When Jin Woo learned that it was the hospital where Junho worked, and that she was doing it for Mrs. Park, he directly said that it seemed like someone had messed with his computer. He said that when he used the computer before, he found that it started in safe mode. At first, he thought it was a problem with the computer, but today, he looked at the browsing history. Ji Yu became nervous instantly after hearing this. Jin Woo sneered and asked her why she was so nervous. He said, who else in this house would touch his computer? Who would know that password? It turned out that the computer's password was Ji Yu's birthday, so Jin Woo was sure that she had touched the computer. Jin Woo asked her why she did it. He said, we have lived together for so many years, do I not have a place in Ji Yu's heart? Jin Woo grabbed Ji Yu and made her take out the USB flash drive. Does she know that the data will get him killed? Ji Yu says she knows she could get fired and prosecuted, but she just wants to see Jin Woo fall from grace. Jin Woo always thinks he's so great and amazing, and keeps exploiting her and ignoring her. Jin Woo asks Ji Yu if she knows how much he's sacrificed to get where he is today. Ji Yu says Jin Woo has actually been putting up with life, but now that he has Eunji in his heart, he wants to abandon Ji Yu and the children. After Ji Yu and Jin Woo had a big fight, Ji Yu didn't make breakfast the next day. Jin Woo ran to her room and asked what she was doing. Ji Yu said she was watching a drama, which surprised Jin Woo, and Ji Yu said he hadn't watched it for decades, and now he was finding it quite interesting. Jin Woo felt speechless, then he snatched her phone away. Ji Yu said June wanted to make breakfast by herself today, so she let them do it themselves. Jin Woo asked her what she really wanted. Ji Yu said she never wanted to be a nanny again. Jin Woo told her to wait and see. On the other side, Eunji went out to get the car and discovered that the rearview mirror had been damaged. She immediately guessed that Ji Yu had done it, so she took a brick and smashed Jin Woo's rearview mirror. Smashing one was not enough to vent her anger, so she smashed the other rearview mirror. Just then, Jin Woo appeared behind her. Eunji thought they had damaged her car first. Jin Woo Eunji's car only had one broken, while she had damaged both of her rearview mirrors, and made Eunji pay for one of her rearview mirrors, and also asked Eunji to reimburse the money for her taxi ride. After returning to the company, Jin Woo once again met with Eunji's company, constantly checking the reimbursement documents, and believing that there are many unnecessary expenses in it. He began to cut their funding. Eunji felt very speechless about this person. At school, the teacher named June and Taewon and made them stand up, and punished them by making them do volunteer work for a month. And Gina had to deduct school points in addition to doing volunteer work. Jin Woo, who knew about this, blamed Ji Yu again for not being able to take care of the children. If June's grades drop, it is entirely Ji Yu's responsibility. At that moment, June walked out and said that it would not. She thinks her mother hasn't done anything wrong, and it's all her fault. June's words touched Ji Yu's heart. Junho and Eunji, who knew about the matter, thought the punishment was very unfair. Why did only Gina have to lose school points? Is it because Gina is not good at studying that she is treated differently by the school? They originally planned to go to the Education Bureau to complain. However, Gina suddenly came out and said that she was in a relationship at school, which was wrong in the first place. The punishment is just a lesson. In the future, she will study hard. The couple both lamented that their daughter has really grown up. The two then talked in bed, imagining the future of their children growing up and getting married, and also recalling the time when they first got together, understanding that the novelty only lasts a moment, and that the one who has weathered the storms together is the one who is most worth cherishing. Finally, they took each other's hands and switched to battle mode. The next day, Park Minister went back to work at the company and happened to run into Jin Woo, who then started talking to Jin Woo in a strange and weird way. Jin Woo sensed that something was wrong, so he immediately went to see the vice president. It turned out that Park Minister had found the chairman to back him up. The vice president said that if something happened, let Jin Woo take the blame alone. He would definitely repay him in the future. After all, if the two of them were finished, then no one would have a chance in the future. In the evening, Ji Yu proposed to divorce Jin Woo. She didn't need much of an inheritance. She just wanted her two daughters to follow her. Jin Woo thought Ji Yu was crazy. Ji Yu said that he had already found a house and a shop to open a pickle store. She asked Jin Woo to pay the alimony within the statutory period and leave the house to her. Jin Woo can then live in the house by himself. Jin Woo thinks that Ji Yu is crazy. Ji Yu said that she would be crazy if she lived with him. Then she asked Jin Woo not to sue. If the property is divided according to the law, it may be more beneficial to her. Jin Woo laughed and said that he definitely could not give his children to Ji Yu. Ji Yu says she has a catering certificate from multiple countries, and she can arrange her time reasonably for both her daily life and work, so she will be more advantageous in fighting for custody, and asks Jin Woo not to waste money on the lawsuit. Jin Woo laments that Ji Yu should have started preparing for this plan a long time ago. Ji Yu admits generously that this is the case. Jin Woo says he will not agree to a divorce. In the middle of the night, Ji Yu has another terrible thought. In the middle of the night, she sneaks out of the house, unexpectedly, and Jin Woo is also secretly watching her. Just as Ji Yu is waiting for the elevator, Jin Woo opens the door and asks her what she is going to do. Ji Yu says she is just going out for a while, and Park Minister's pension has been taken away by his wife. Jin Woo sees that Ji Yu is not saying anything and directly grabs her hand and pulls her back home, while Eun-ji and Junho were eavesdropping behind the door. Jin Woo woke up the next day and found that he had a nosebleed, but he didn't care. On the other side, Hyejin asked Eun-ji when she planned to tell Junho that she wasn't pregnant, but Eun-ji was distressed and didn't know how to open her mouth, because Junho was looking forward to the arrival of this child, and she was afraid of what would happen if she said it. On the other side, Park Minister arrived with security guards at Jin Woo, and then told them to kick Jin Woo out. He threatened to take revenge on Jin Woo. After being kicked out of the company, Jin Woo happened to meet the vice president. He thought the vice president would save him, but the vice president walked directly to Park Minister's side. Jin Woo understood that he was finished. After struggling for decades, it was all gone in an instant. On the other side, Minwoo and Ji Aeun complained about the punishment of the children. As they talked, Ji Aeun remembered when they had a fight at school, and heard Junho tell Eun-ji to be careful with her stomach. But Ji Aeun said that she had seen Eun-ji before and thought she might have gone for an abortion, and said that after such a long time, if she hadn't aborted the baby, her stomach would definitely be big, and they unanimously suspected that Eun-ji was pretending to be pregnant. In the evening, Minwoo happened to meet Junho buying oranges, and he had been holding a grudge over what happened at school, so he told Ji Aeun that he had seen Eun-ji having an abortion. On the other side, Ji Yu left the divorce petition on Jin Woo's desk, and the defendant listed on it was Jin Woo. At this time, Jin Woo was on his way home, thinking about all the hard work he had done over the years and all the glorious images. He was very unwilling to just lose it all, and his car speed also became faster and faster. At this time, he had failed both his family and his career, but he never imagined that God was already approaching him. Junho discovers that his wife is not pregnant, and comes home distracted. Eun-ji gathers her courage and tells him that she is not pregnant. Although Junho is surprised, he is not angry, and comforts Eun-ji with a smile. Eun-ji has really suffered for the family. The two then show off their affection for 3 minutes. On the other side, Ji Yu is having breakfast with her children. At this time, she does not know that Jin Woo has had a car accident. The little girl asked Ji Yu if they could go to the concert, and Ji Yu readily agreed with them. On the other side, Eun-ji was waiting for Jin Woo to come over for a meeting, but she didn't expect to wait for Park Minister. Eun-ji then learned that Jin Woo had been fired, and Ji Yu also received a phone call from Mrs. Park, and learned that Jin Woo had been fired. On the other side, the police received a report from a citizen and arrived at the scene of Jin Woo's accident. But what was strange was that Jin Woo could not be found at the scene of the accident. So the police went to Jin Woo's home and questioned Ji Yu. They asked her if Jin Woo and she had had a big fight the night before, and if she knew that a murder had taken place in this house but still chose to move here. Ji Yu said that this was indeed the case. At that moment, another police officer searched Ji Yu's divorce petition in the study. This also took Ji Yu by surprise. The police then interviewed the residents of the neighborhood. Ji Aeun said she had heard that the two men often fought. The security guard said he had witnessed the scene. He also said that there were more than just one or two strange things. He said that Jin Woo's disappearance was definitely not simple. Ji Aeun then found Eun-ji as the women's director, and asked her about the situation in Jin Woo's home, but Eun-ji had no idea what had happened. Ji Aeun told her about Jin Woo's mysterious disappearance. This made Eun-ji's body goosebumps. The next day, Eun-ji returned home and saw Ji Yu being taken away by the police. Ji Aeun said that the police suspected Ji Yu of killing Jin Woo for his pension. This came as a big surprise to Eun-ji. The police then questioned Ji Yu. They said that they had found Jin Woo's blood on the desk, and a divorce petition. The point is that Jin Woo left her 500 million won in insurance money, so Ji Yu is suspected of being the suspect. When Ji Yu heard the news, she was shocked. Then the police said that Ji Yu would also receive a severance pay, and it was not a small amount. Ji Yu couldn't believe this fact. It turned out that the man's heart was always concerned about his family. In a gloomy underground tunnel appeared a handsome homeless man. This person is Jin Woo, who everyone thinks is the most despicable. Every day, He follows a group of homeless people in line to receive food, while eating the unappetizing meals. Jinwoo thinks of the delicious food Ji-yu made for him. At night, he goes to the top of the mountain and sits on a chair, looking in the direction of home. Perhaps it is only when you lose something that you realize how precious it is. Jinwoo sheds tears of regret and guilt. Meanwhile, Ji-yu at home also sheds tears of heartache. She understands that the man by her side may not be as bad as she thought. She began to re-evaluate Jinwoo. The next day, Jinwoo was drinking with a homeless man. After some conversation, the man understood Jinwoo's problems. He advised Jinwoo to go home early. Jinwoo said he couldn't accept the reality of defeat. He didn't want others to see his downfall. The man said that pride couldn't feed you, but Jinwoo believed that he would only cause trouble for his family now. The most important thing is to let Ji-yu receive a huge insurance payment after he is declared dead. On the other side, Ji-yu is watching the weather forecast. She learns that there will be cold air tomorrow. She starts to worry about Jinwoo, who is missing. The next day, when Jinwoo tries to get up, he suddenly collapses. He starts to feel dizzy and sees Ji-yu's face in his mind. He is then sent to the hospital by ambulance. When Jinwoo arrives at the hospital, his life is in danger. On the other side, Junho received an urgent call for medical attention. Junho notified Ji-yu and his wife to go to the hospital. Eun-ji just started the car and went out, and she found Ji-yu running. She quickly stopped the car and asked Ji-yu to get in. Ji-yu hesitated for a while, but she decided to get in Eun-ji's car. Ji-yu was in tears the whole way. Eun-ji felt bad when she saw her like this. On the other side, Junho was also doing a full body check on Jinwoo. When the results came out, Junho told Ji-yu with a heavy heart that after Jinwoo had a traffic accident, he did not undergo scientific treatment, and there were dangerous places on his body that had split open. Now even if surgery is performed, the possibility of recovery will be very small. At Ji-yu's urgent pleading, Junho immediately performed surgery on Jinwoo, while Ji-yu and Eun-ji waited outside the operating room. Eun-ji saw Ji-yu rushing out the door without a jacket, so she took her jacket off. Ji-yu was very surprised. Eun-ji was worried that she would refuse, so she said it was okay as she was wearing a lot of clothes. Eun-ji saw that Ji-yu was wearing indoor shoes. She understood that Ji-yu was really worried about Jinwoo. After a long wait, they finally saw Junho come out. Junho said he had done his best, and said that the operation was successful, but he is still in a coma and needs to be monitored. When the two women returned home, Ji-yu almost fell over. Fortunately, Eun-ji caught her. Ji-yu thanked Eun-ji. Eun-ji said that there was no need to say such things at this time. Unexpectedly, Ji-yu even told Eun-ji that she was sorry. That night, Eun-ji and Junho talked about what happened today. They both felt relieved. After the incident with the manager, they realized that the people they love most are their family. Ji-yu began to take care of Jinwoo in the hospital every day. She also said that Jun had once again ranked first in the whole school. She said that her daughter must have inherited Jinwoo's talent for doing well in school. After picking Jinwoo's fingernails, she began to help him wash his back. When she got tired, she would rest for a while in the corridor outside. Junho saw Ji-yu, who was so tired that she fell asleep, and asked if she wanted a cup of coffee. However, Ji-yu declined Junho's kindness this time, saying that she still needs to take care of her husband, and Eun-ji will also bring things to visit Jinwoo. Maybe there will be many passers-by in life. Not all of them are good stories, but I don't want a bad ending either. That day, Ji-yu read the newspaper to Jinwoo as usual, but Jinwoo's fingers suddenly responded. Ji-yu shouted excitedly for the doctor, and kept saying in her mouth, "Honey, I'm here." Jinwoo used all his strength to lift his hand. He wanted to express his apology to Ji-yu. Ji-yu understood what he meant, and tightly shook Jinwoo's hand in return. On the other side of the room, Eun-ji opened the window on a hot summer day. However, due to menopause, she still felt very hot. Junho entered the room and wanted to have sex with Eun-ji again. Unexpectedly, he was rejected by Eun-ji. This made Junho feel like crying but with no tears. On the other side, Ji-yu expressed to Jinwoo that she was curious about one thing: why the beneficiary of the insurance was her. She was clearly such a calculating person. Wouldn't she feel a waste in the face of such a large sum of money? Soon after, Jinwoo began his rehabilitation exercises. Although it was painful, he had strength to persevere because Ji-yu was by his side. In the end, Eun-ji and Ji-yu even became good friends. The two of them laughed and talked. If someone didn't know them, they would think they had been best friends for decades, because they wanted to make it easier for Jinwoo to recover. Ji-yu and the others moved. The new place was close to the hospital and the park. Later, the two of them wished each other happiness. Hyejin almost spilt her drink when she saw what they were doing. She said the scene was really funny. In the days that followed, Ji-yu stayed with Jinwoo all the time while he exercised. Although taking care of Jinwoo was also very hard, she found her own happiness. Ji-yu's face no longer had a sad expression, but a happy and blissful smile instead. That day, Eun-ji was returning home from work and pressing the elevator button when she realized that the other person was also going to the 13th floor. It turned out that this man was her new neighbor. Then he gave Eun-ji a business card. She was shocked when she saw the name on it. This man even had the same surname as Jin-woo, and he also worked in a pharmaceutical company. He expressed the hope that they would have the opportunity to cooperate in the future. Just as they were marveling at such a coincidence, Junho and the man's wife appeared at the elevator. Ji-yu and Jin-woo have just moved out. And here comes another couple. Eun-ji will have work contact with that man, and the woman, like Ji-yu, can cook. Is it time for a new test? In fact, there are not that many people in the world who are rushing towards each other. When you meet someone who loves you very much, you try to discover the best in each other.